Alrighty, I think we can go ahead and get this party started. What is happening? What is going on in my chat? Why is everyone splunking and splooting and splunk is love apparently according to Morgan. Oh my goodness. What are we even doing here? Hello everyone and welcome back to our most likely final Owl House discussion stream ever, most likely. It feels so crazy to say that. There's a small chance that we talk for so much today that we end up needing to do one more next week. But we'll see how it goes. We'll get through as much as we can today and see how we're feeling at the end. But most likely this is going to be the last one because all we have left to talk about is the time skip. Hello everyone and welcome. Everyone is splonking all over my chat. I don't even know what it means, but hello, I'm grateful for it anyway. Shia is here. Thanks so much for being here, Shia, as always. And Morgan and Ed and Toon are all here. And this weirdo curmudgeon is in my chat, splonking all over my chat for some reason. Don't know who that is. But whoever that is, I am also joined, of course, as always, by my lovely friend from across the pond, Tom from Curmudgeon Media. Tom, you want to say hello to the people?
Splonk in the chat, fellas. Just splonk in the chat.
Splonk, do I want to know what it means, or is it better for me not to know?
Splonk doesn't actually mean anything. It's something I started saying when I would play Spelunky, and I would I would jump on an enemy and kill them. I would say splonk.
Gotcha.
But then I just started saying it in general when I was playing video games of any kind, and I would just do a thing and I would say splonk. So now I just say splonk, I guess, because you know that's how life goes. And I just think it's important that we all share in the splonk.
Well, thank you for sharing. Shadow is also splonking and dabbing in the chat. Thank you. To die to splonk for a chance to splink. That's funny.
Ed understands.
Yes. I feel like the chat understands far more than I do.
Toon is currently the only one who is not splonked, and I think that's outrageous. And I don't think we should
called
continue.
out. You've been called out, Toon, for not splonking.
I think we should. I do truly think we should just like pause the stream until
that
mistake is rectified.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm grateful for everyone here. Everyone's splonking in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. We're here to talk about the Owl House, believe it or not. And we are going to be talking about the time skip today. And we are getting into this last bit. Everyone just splunking in the chat. Do your thing. I believe in sploo and splunk rights.
This is fucking despicable. And I'm so mad right now.
Toon is more of a splatter. Okay.
Shia, Toon, you will be hearing from my lawyers. And let me tell you, I have a very robust
Tom is going to be taking legal action. Yes.
And you can expect, I mean, you're going to be owing me money for the rest of your lives for this.
Oh my goodness.
Outrageous.
Anyway, speaking of owing money for the rest of our lives, let's talk about Luz going to college. Isn't that a segue?
Oh, dead. Too real.
Anyway, let's get into the time skip. Actually, before we get into the time skip, I know I just made that amazing segue, but before we get into the time skip, there are a couple of things that I wanted to touch on before the time skip, before we jump into it, that I have thought about in the past week that I wanted to discuss really quick before we get into the time skip. Really quick, before the end of this scene that we talked about last week, this reunion scene, right? There's a lot of really sweet, heartwarming moments in this reunion scene, but one of the things that we kind of glossed by. One of the things that we kind of glossed by that I feel like deserves a little bit more attention that we didn't celebrate enough, in my opinion, was the reunion between Willow and her dads. We actually get a kiss between them, and I feel like we didn't talk about this enough last week. Like, that's really awesome. I honestly can't remember. I can't remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I can't remember having a male on male gay kiss in a Western animated show before. I might be completely wrong with that. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
Does that happen in Kipo?
yeah. Does Kipo have a kiss? Does Benson and Troy have a kiss? Because if they do, they're probably the first. But between two adults, if that's the case, then this is the first between two male adults, which I think is really awesome. And we didn't talk about it enough last time. And you know, we did talk a little bit about how this show is really a landmark and really sets the bar to a whole new level when it comes to Dead End also had one. Keepo also had one. Okay, there were multiple before this one, but this is still a big deal. I really don't want to undercut how big of a deal this is. And you know, we talked a bit about how much the show means in terms of representation before, and how it has set this bar that we will, you know, Tom and I really hope that we're wrong here, but it feels unlikely that we're going to see this again anytime soon. So I really don't want to take it for granted, the fact that we're like getting all of these moments, and like it's just really awesome, and it really means a lot to me. Did Bo's dads and Shira share a kiss? I don't think so.
I don't remember them ever kissing.
I don't think they did. Is there MLM kiss in Steven Universe? I don't think so. I don't think there is.
I don't believe so. Steven Universe is a very sort of like
sapphic.
I know that. Yeah, it's a very sapphic show. I know that Rebecca Sugar, like in retrospect, refers to the characters it more in like non-binary terms, but at the time of the show being written and the characters being written, they were very much coded female.
Right.
Yeah, it's that overwhelming feeling of like, is this the last that we're gonna get for a while?
Yeah.
It's true Casey's dads in Moon Girl did have that, but that came after this, I think.
Yeah, it did come after. Yeah, and like, okay, so like I'm of two minds of this, right? Like I feel like this is awesome, and it's great that we're getting, you know, gay dads. I think it's great. But I also feel like gay, you know, male loving male relationships in cartoons, in Western media, still has a long way to go.
Long way to go.
Long way to go. And I feel like the gay dads
own, like,
is starting to become a little bit of a trope, a little bit.
Yeah, I have my own theories about kind of why I have my own theories about why MLM kind of gets
I mean, I feel like it's pretty clear, right? Like it kind of boils down to misogyny at the end of the day, right? Like this idea of men being hypersexualized and women being like desexualized, right? And so like it's almost easier to like see, you know, two girls holding hands and to say like, oh, they're just really good friends, right? Like, and to kind of strip away the queerness from them, right? Whereas with,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a fetishistic angle to it as well.
Yes,
I feel
yes,
like overwhelmingly, in my experience, the perpetrators of homophobia are usually men, and men are much homophobic guys are much more likely to let a lesbian relationship slide by virtue of their own attraction to both parties.
Yeah, right. Like it's definitely like two sides to it, right? There's like the hypersexualization and then the complete like stripping of the queerness, right? Like it's so that's like the kind of double catch-22 type of situation that like queer women often find themselves in. Is like they can't win, right? Like they're either being sexualized or they're being like completely stripped of their autonomy, right? Of their right to like identify as like a romantic relationship, right? And so yeah, it's definitely like both of those things that factor into why we might be seeing more sapphic relationships than you know, male loving male relationships. And I really like don't want this to seem like I am saying we are getting too much sapphic and not enough male loving male, because
it's not about too much. It's not enough and too much.
There's not enough of both. There's not enough of all of it, right? Like we need more of everything. And I firmly believe that we need less cis straight representation, right? And so like whenever there's like this kind of queer community infighting in terms of like, oh, like males aren't getting enough representation and there's too many lesbian relationships, I'm just like, there really isn't too many lesbian relationships. And when we look at the lesbian relationships that we have, they are often very similar. You know, we get kind of like
Mm.
two like white characters, or like one white character and one like character of color, right? And like maybe they're both like kind of traditionally feminine, right? And so like yeah, there's a lot more we can do in terms of representation, in terms of the sapphic side of it too, right? And so I really don't want it to seem like I'm saying like we need more of this and less of this. We need more of everything, right?
It's not like it's a finite resource.
Exactly, 100%. It's not a finite resource. And
Yeah.
so we definitely need more of everything, but I definitely want to give the owl house its flowers where it's due, right? And having this male male on male kiss between these two dads is something that I
Mm.
didn't want to gloss over, because yeah, I feel like there's a lot in the show that people take for granted, and I don't want to take it for granted. You know, I it really means a lot to me, and I really hope I'm wrong in that, you know, we do get something like this again soon. We do get more queer relationships like front and center soon, is what I'm really hoping. So
It's
glad that the Owl House has it at least.
I don't know about you, but I find it exhausting.
Sure, of course.
The whole thing, I find it exhausting. I find it exhausting needing to consider justifying my own existence to other people.
Yes. Oh my
Do you
god,
get
you're telling me. You're
do you
telling
get
me as
that?
a
Like,
trans person.
no, no, like I know you understand, but it's like when you really take a step back and like look at what we're talking about, how insane is it that we live in a world where this is even something we feel the
Right?
need to celebrate? You know?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
how fucking crazy is that? How like every time you go on Twitter and some fucking yobbos are complaining en masse about two ladies holding hands in the background of a shot in a trailer for a film, it's like it's exhausting.
It
It's like
is. It is.
how
It is.
how
Absolutely. It is exhausting.
it's
And
I what I really want, I want some like I want something revolutionary that isn't revolutionary in a kind way, in a
right,
gentle way.
right.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I
Like
mean?
something
Like,
revolutionary that just feels normal, right?
well, I mean, like, I don't mean that. I want something revolutionary that's fucking angry.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah. I want something revolutionary that's unapologetic, right?
That's I like. Oh, I don't want any more kind, nice, gentle. I want angry.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want shows that are catered to cis people or straight people, you know. I'm so tired of that kind of representation. And I understand its importance and I understand its place within the kind of like zeitgeist. But as someone who is trans and as someone who is queer that doesn't get a lot of media like made for me,
Mm.
I'm needing it, you know? Like I need the trans representation that is like for me, you know? Like I talked a little bit about Dead End already and I don't want to talk about it here cuz this is not what
It is literally the straightest queer show
yeah,
ever
it's this is
made.
not what this discussion is about. But when I watched it, it just felt so much like it was for cis people, it was for straight people, and I know that like a lot of trans people enjoyed it, and I don't want
Mm.
to detract from that. Obviously, if you enjoy it, that's great, more power to you. But it didn't feel like it was for me, right? And obviously not every show or media is going to be for me, but when you have a fucking trans protagonist, I want it to at least partially be for me, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and isn't it funny that something like Steven Universe, which had to be less overt, and it
yeah,
was overt in many ways, but like in terms of themes of identity, it had to be less overt, and it had to use like thematic undercurrents to explore those ideas. It still felt like it was not made for a straight audience. It felt like it
right.
was made
No,
for
100%, 100%. Steven Universe was so unapologetic in its queerness, and like it had its target audience of queer people like in mind from the get-go, right? Like Rebecca Sugar made that show like for her in a lot of ways, right? To like express her own queerness. And her own non-binary identity, right? And so like I feel like in that sense it's very different. And I don't want to harp on this too much. I know the Owl House is also an example of like, you know, Dana Terrace like being unapologetic in her queerness and putting her own identity into the show. I think that that's really beautiful. And yeah, I just really don't want to take it for granted, and I am demanding more. There needs to be more. let's see. Let's see what the chat's been saying. Um, yeah, absolutely exhausting, Chia. Totally agree with you. Having to like make your case for your own existence, whereas like cis people aren't even questioned, right? Like it's very exhausting. Vizzy Pop's work is the closest I'm asking for. I'll have to check it out. I need to look it up. Want to watch abusive queer relationships? Yeah, there like that's the thing, right? There just needs to be more. Like there needs to be like toxic queer relationships. There needs to be wholesome queer relationships. There just needs to be like
I
more.
mean, if you want toxic queer relationships, just explore the works of Wong Kar-wai. That's like 90% of what he writes about. I have trouble with those because for a time in like the 90s and early 2000s, abusive queer relationships were the only ones we got. And I don't like that. We've had plenty of those, and I don't like that because it creates this narrative where like queer relationships are like inherently toxic by nature.
Oh yeah, no. I mean,
Which
like
I
that.
kind of hate.
Like that, but that's like the thing, right? Like that's why it's so important that we just get like more representation, because like the less we have, the easier it is to fall into these tropes, right? Like the fact that we're getting like gay dads after gay dads after gay dads is like it's starting to become a trope now, right? It's because we don't have as much male loving male representation in these shows, and so whenever we get another gay dad, it's like great, we wanted more gay representation, but we already had a pair of gay dads, and now we're just like getting another one, right? And so like that's what I mean. Like there just needs to be more, right? And so like the more we have, the less tropey these tropes become, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also feel like when it comes to queer people like expressing themselves authentically, I feel like that's where this discussion of tropes needs to have a little bit of nuance, because like, you know, I haven't watched this show yet, so I apologize if I'm like totally misconstruing it or you know, whatever, because I'm going to speak about this from an outsider perspective of someone who's really only seen the discourse of the show. But there's a Netflix show called Q Force, and I haven't watched it yet. But there is a part of me that does want to watch it. But I know that it got a lot of flack after the marketing came out, right? Because it was like kind of very stereotypical. It was very like, the protagonist is like this sassy gay, cis guy, and it's like very stereotypical, right? But like from my understanding, that show was written by a lot of queer people. And so if that's the case, I don't want to harp on it for being like stereotypical or tropey, because if it is like a genuine authentic expression of like someone's queerness, like that's their expression, right? Like some people are just stereotypical. That's just the reality for some people, right? And so like I don't want to criticize it for being that if it is coming from a genuine place, right? So I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said, I'm only speaking of this from an outside perspective, but my point is that like I feel like queer people, when we're creating art, shouldn't worry about tropes or falling into these traps or anything like that. I feel like the only thing that we should worry about is being like authentic to ourselves in our art. So in that sense, there just definitely needs to be more, right? There needs to be more people behind the scenes. There needs to be more people in front of the camera. There needs to be more people in the writer's room. There needs to be more people in the character designer room, right? There just needs to be more queer people in all these places so that these expressions can feel more genuine instead of like two-dimensional tropes, right? Anyway, I felt like I was talking about this for a really long time, but I just really didn't want to gloss over the kiss and talk a little bit more about representation, because it is important.
Yeah. And I think about like that episode of The Last of Us that came out and was, glowingly praised from a critical standpoint. Glowingly praised.
The Last of Us? Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful, just a beautiful episode, a beautiful story, very sensitively handled. A lot of people loved it. It was super meaningful to a lot. I haven't seen it. I would very much like to. And then like a couple of days go by and it immediately gets review bombed. But because
right, yeah, I remember that.
Not for critical merit, but for
being queer.
Just for its literally, yeah, just for its content, just because it's queer, and that makes some people so fucking mad. It just drives them nuts. They go crazy. And that's the kind of people we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who are so angry that you exist that it makes them fucking fuming. It makes them foam at the damn mouth.
Yeah.
Because you exist. Which is why I just want something really revolutionary in the form of a moving image. I want something angry. I want people to get angry. I want the people making the stuff to get angry. It's okay to be angry. It's natural to be
Absolutely.
angry. When when the civil rights movements were happening in the late 60s and the early 70s, you got a whole string of just beautiful, furious independent films, just the most fucking furious things you've ever seen. You watch any of them, I highly recommend Bush Mama to anybody. Great film. It's like the angriest civil rights film ever made. It's furious.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want gay people to make angry content about what it feels like to exist in this world where there are so many people who just get mad that you exist. And I want to get mad back. I want to get angry back. I'm tired of having to be chill about it all the time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Anyway, you get the point.
Yeah. I was typing this in the chat, but for some reason it wasn't sending it to me. But I was trying to respond to what Toon was saying. I am interested in watching Q Force. There's a podcaster I listen to that is like a writer on that show, so because of that, I at least want to check it out. Yeah, I also just want to form my own opinions about it, you know, because like I've just seen so much of the discourse and want to actually have my own thoughts about it. So I will eventually check it out, but probably not anytime soon. Anyway, so that's all I really wanted to talk about in terms of like queer representation and stuff. And I totally agree with you, Tom. I feel like we definitely need something that is like made by queer people that's just like an expression of our anger and our outrage, because there's a lot to be angry about right now. There really is. Anyway, so I don't want to go on about this too long. We've already been talking about this for over 20 minutes, but yeah, I just didn't want to gloss over it for sure. There's one more thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into the time skip, and this is actually something that I changed my mind on, something that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So I want to go back to the beginning. You know, we talked a little bit about how, you know, maybe this beginning portion with Luce in the collector's like dream sequence was going on a little bit too long. You know, we kind of already moved past her guilt and all of that stuff. But there is one thing that I have changed my mind on in this sequence that I said that I didn't like before that I do now like. So at the end of this sequence, you know, we get, you know, the Hexide kids, Amity and whoever, for a brief moment, they like regain control of their consciousness, right? And they have this line, right, where, you know, you have to wake up, all you have to do is turn on the light, right? And I remember, you know, a couple weeks ago when we first talked about this, when we were giving our kind of initial takes on the finale, I told you all that I didn't really like that line. You know, what's the first thing you do when you wake up from a bad dream? You turn on the light, right? And when we had talked about this last time, I talked about how this was like a little cheesy, a little over dramatic, and you know, felt a little bit like, oh, this is the finale, we need to have this line, right? And I take it back. I actually like this line a lot now, and I will tell you why I have changed my mind on this. So this is the finale, right? So we do need to have at least one or two moments of these like dramatic, you know, lines, right? So I have to acknowledge it for that. But I took this line to be kind of dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. And in that sense, I was like, oh, I don't really like it. But I feel like it serves kind of another purpose now. And we had this discussion last week, actually, about light as a leitmotif and about what light represents within the show, and how Luz is, her name literally means light, right? And how she herself is like an extension of that light, right? And what is that light doing, right? And we talked about this last week about how light as the motif is used throughout the show as a moment of clarity, right? It's a moment that sheds away ignorance and literally brings to light something that hasn't been known to the characters previously, right? We talked about this last week. And so this is why I now like this line, because I feel like every finale has to have like one moment where there's a line that seems a little overdramatic and maybe a little bit cheesy, but it is kind of an encapsulation of like the thesis of the show, right? So like, what do we do when it's a bad dream? We turn on the light, right? And in a lot of ways that kind of talks about what the show is about, right? Like when we are in a bad situation, when we are in a place where we feel like we're in a nightmare, right? Like Amity in the beginning of the show being in an abusive home situation, or Ida being someone who had closed herself off from the world and is now like living in isolation, right? Like these are things that you could kind of consider to be like nightmares, right? And what was it that brought them out of those things? It was turning on the light. It was Luz coming into their lives. It was Luz casting away that ignorance, the part of them that they like didn't understand, right? That needed to be brought up. And so in that sense, waking up and turning on the light is kind of a thesis of the show in a lot of ways. And it reminded me, everyone get out their bingo cards, it reminded me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I don't want to give any spoilers or anything big like that, but one of the biggest themes in Buffy the Vampire Slayer is this idea of choice, right? This idea of our choices are what define us as human beings, right? Like making choices, making difficult choices when things are hard, is like a big thesis of the show, right? Like Buffy making the choice to kill her boyfriend to save the world, right? Like that's like a big thing, right? Like there's a lot of these ideas of choice within the show of Buffy. And in the finale, I don't want to give any spoilers, but in the finale, she gives like this one last dramatic speech, right? Because it's the finale, so she has to. And one of the cruxes of that speech, she has a line that says, now's the time where you have to make a choice. And that is like that big, cheesy, dramatic line that's like in the finale, right? Like now's the time to make a choice. And so I really like, there's a lot I could say about the finale of like why I like it, why I don't like it, but that's actually one thing I do genuinely like about that finale. It's like it's one line that sounds a little dramatic, that sounds a little cheesy, but it does encapsulate the kind of essence of the show. And so in that sense, I feel like this line is very similar to that line, right? Like you turn on the light, it kind of encapsulates the essence of the show. So I changed my mind from what I said a few weeks ago. I actually like this line now. I think it's great. I think it's lovely. It makes sense to have this in the finale because actually, like, you know, as I've been thinking about it too, this kind of whole first section is almost like a callback section, right? Like we're spending time with these characters, you know, like the Willow part is calling back to understanding Willow, the Gus part is calling back to Grom, right? Like there's so many callbacks in this beginning portion. And so in that sense, I feel like it does make sense to have this turn on the light line here because it is kind of just a callback, right? It is encapsulating the entire show so far. So in that sense, I do like it. I changed my mind, so there you have it.
I always liked it. I thought it was neat.
There's my rant.
I've not changed my mind because I thought it was neat. Anyway.
Toon, you should always expect that. You should always expect that if you're going to step away and come back in, we're probably going to be talking about Buffy.
I haven't mentioned Blade Runner yet, though. So.
No, not yet. Not yet. There's still a chance. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that. I actually really like that line now. I feel like it's nice to have that in the finale. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the time skip. Why don't we? We have been putting it off for long enough. Let's go ahead and jump into the future. Actually, before we do, is there anything else you wanted to say about the non-future before we get into the future?
Well, you see, in Blade Runner, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay. All right, so oh yeah, Cowboy Bebop is what you should be mentioning. Yep, exactly.
There's a short list. There's Cowboy Bebop, there's Blade Runner,
yeah,
and to a lesser extent Taxi Driver.
Yeah. I love how well our audience knows us now that they like have these things that they know about us.
Things that they could use against us.
Exactly.
When we inevitably end up embroiled in the court battle for whether or not we said splonk in the chat.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, there's a lot of details in this time skip, so we're gonna go slow. We're gonna take it shot by shot essentially. So the first shot is, the Good Witch Azura, and we see Luce putting away her Azura figurine into a box that she's packing up, and in the box we see Ida's jacket, we see the little Tamagotchi communicator. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take away our I'm gonna take away my overlay so that we can see it more properly, and I'm just gonna
It's
cross
the
my fingers that
Grom crown, the
if
Grom
we're going
tiara.
slow enough, hopefully copyright doesn't strike me. Um,
Strike you down in anger and
yeah, it doesn't
fury.
smite me with lightning.
Bust through the window and beat your ass.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go slow. But there actually is something I want to talk a little bit about with Good Witch Azura as well too. And I was watching a YouTube video, and I feel so bad that I can't remember which YouTube video I was watching, because there's so many great creators out there who make awesome Owl House videos. But there was an Owl House video I was watching recently where someone was talking about how the show, kind of like another core tenet of the show, something that is like really at the soul and heart of the show, is the show's love for fandom and the kind of like love and appreciation it has for people who are like fans of things, right? And so like, Luce being such a fan of Good Witch Azura, and how like Azura was the thing that was passed from her dad, and it was something that helped her like process her grief, and also was the thing that, brought her and Amity together. And fan art being kind of like the thing that Luce does to develop her magic, right? Like, so there's so many of these kind of like ideas of loving fiction and loving storytelling as like being magical in its own right. And I really love that that's such a core part of the show, because like it speaks to, the fans of the show as well too, right? Like, we love this show so much, and so it feels like it's almost like acknowledging us as fans of the show, being like, yes, we celebrate you, right? Like, we celebrate fans, we celebrate sharing stories together and like coming together to like talk about them, right? Having these discussion streams, right? And all that stuff. So I just really love that that's such like a core part of the show, and I love that that's continuing to be celebrated as Luce, has Azura as like a key part of her life throughout her entire life, right? So I absolutely love that about the show.
And also how she slowly comes to embody the values of the text itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Like slowly becoming Azura.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Totally. Yeah, I don't remember which video it was. I feel really bad, but if I remember, I'll post it in the Discord.
Was it the PragerU video about the
No, I would
owl?
never. Don't even joke about that. Don't even joke about that.
Can you imagine if that happened? If they made a PragerU made an Owl House
Stop.
video?
Oh my god. All right, so we zoom out and we see Luce in her room, and all the books, all of her stuff is packed up into boxes. All of her posters are taken down, so she is packing away for college. And I do actually want to talk a little bit about too. Sorry, I know there's so much to talk about. I know there maybe will be one more stream after this. Who knows? There's so much to talk about. So I want to talk about how the show and like the Boiling Isles and this idea, like the glyphs, right? At the end, before we got to the time skip, Luce was like, that this is a chapter of my life that's ending, right? And a new one is beginning, right? And the show is very much a coming of age story as well too, right? It's a story about growing up. It's a story about learning like to find your identity and to find your people, right? So like the coming of age aspect is obviously a really core part of the show as well too. And so I really like that the time skip brings us to like the start of college for Luce, because I feel like that kind of nicely ties together this idea of like, end of one chapter of your life, start of a new chapter of your life, right? And so I just really like that in a lot of ways this adventure that Luce has kind of like represents high school in a lot of ways, right? It represents like coming into your own as you do when you're in high school. So I really think that's lovely.
Yeah, it goes quietly,
Yeah.
and pleasantly into that good night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
it's about as gentle a conclusion as they could have given us.
Definitely.
Um, but I like it when they keep it softly open ended with a
Yeah.
line
Yeah.
like a new chapter of my life is beginning. It's I suppose it's kind of different to Amphibia in that way. It has a lot of similarities to the Amphibia finale, but the Amphibia time skip feels very ultimate, I suppose. Like those characters are now adults. They seem to be in like their mid-20s.
Yeah,
They've settled into their life
right.
and they're kind of just happy doing their own thing. But with this, it's that, late teens,
Yeah, kind of the door is open and we're like gonna see what's on the other side of it kind of feeling, right?
yet to be shaped more by the world around them and
Yes,
so
exactly,
on and so
exactly.
forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think like that's clear from the show as well too. Tune this idea of Luce's found family and friends in the Boing Isles is like what allows her to um, succeed in high school. So I really love that for her. And I agree with everyone in the chat too that like as much as I liked Luce's Titan design, I love her with the short hair. I absolutely love her time skip look so much. I think it's absolutely perfect. You know, we talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago about the alternative designs that they had, and I genuinely think that the Luce design, they picked the best one. Like she looks so good and I love it so much.
I I have the hottest of takes actually.
Oh, what is it?
My favorite loose design is the season one loose design. I just love the roundness of it. I love how
Yeah,
round
she's such a
her head is.
babby.
That's not to say I don't love the other designs. I understand there is a symbology to her not straightening her hair anymore, but there's just like a
Yes.
perfect roundness to the shape of her head that's just very appealing to me because
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a simpleton
Yeah.
it's easy to appease me with round shapes.
Totally. Yeah, no, I mean like I love all of Luce's designs. I feel like the character designing on this show in general is like they have a very strong visual language, right? They have a very strong shape language. And I've seen criticisms here and there of like certain characters or certain, choices that were made. I do agree that like maybe the core Hexide group were a little similarly designed. We really only had like one or two different body types in the core friend group. So yeah, I can hear some of those criticisms and everything like that too. But in general, I feel like the show is just like really good at character design, and I feel like the
Mm.
artists really know what they're doing.
I mean, not everything can do the Steven Universe thing of like
Right,
almost
exactly.
every character having like a completely distinct shape to them.
Exactly. Totally.
Not
Yeah.
not everything can be that.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
they were, then Steven Universe would cease to be as special as it is by having that. But
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure, for
no,
sure.
I get it. Designing characters is hard work. Designing lots of characters is really hard work. The Owl House has a lot more. It has way more character model sheets than I think
Yeah.
Steven Universe ever had. Like Steven Universe has the boardies, of which there are what, like 15 of them, like maybe
Something
10,
like that,
15
yeah.
boardies, and they would all of them have had model sheets. Like insignificant background characters would not.
Yeah.
But like the Owl House, you've got like so many characters, some of whom only appear in like one or two episodes, but because they're consistent, they need a model sheet. So you've got like, honestly, I'd be willing to wager like between 25 to 50 character model sheets
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
so
absolutely.
many. There are so many. Just Hexside alone,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
like the girl with horns, like so many characters who just show up and just recur,
Yeah,
and they'd all
absolutely.
have their own model sheets, and they'd all have to go through that process. I sympathize. It's much easier to just kind of fall back on a simple,
Yeah.
um, yeah, simple kind of shape language.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so definitely I hear the criticisms of the show for sure. But I think overall they did a stellar job, and especially with all the main character designs, I feel like they're all just so squishy and so cute and so precious.
I
Especially
miss
Luce.
I miss season one Gus with
Oh,
his
Babby
squishy
Gus,
little
yeah.
face. They
Oh,
should they should never have taken away his squishy cheeks.
yeah.
They gave him that chiseled jawline, and I disapprove.
Yeah, they should have kept him squishy. Hashtag keep Gus squishy.
They did the same to Luce as well.
Yeah, she got kind of
18-year-old Luce
chiseled.
is like she's fucking cut.
Yeah, she is.
She's fucking cut. She's got that jawline that could that could cut glass.
She went to the James Marsters School of Jawline.
But I will always be loyal to squishy little round
Yeah.
Babby season one loose with her little. I love the monkey ears that poke out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
She's
a
just really
superb.
cute and round and very, very squishy. Yeah, I agree with you, no doubt. But in terms of all of her future designs, I feel like this is the best one.
Mm.
There's lots of fun little details all over like Luce's board and her desk here. She's got her accepted letter from the university, and this little symbol, this little Titan symbol, seems to be kind of like the new symbol of the Boiling Isles. Before it was like the Emperor's sigil or whatever, and so this like little Titan skull seems to be kind of the new replacement sigil, which is awesome. We love to see it. There's a photo up here, which I know, Toon, I'm sure you were really excited to see this little photo up here with V and Luce hugging as they are graduating from high school, and it's just so cute. And there's a little bi heart pin that's on the board too, and I love that V and Luce seem to have kind of grown up as sisters in the Noseda household. And, I feel like that's something that a lot of people wanted to see, and we actually got that. So that's awesome. And yeah, we love V. V is a fan favorite, of course. And it's really fun to know that she went to high school with Luz and they like graduated together. That's like really adorable.
I agree. I'm a V stan.
Yeah.
I have to confess.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's I'm glad that she came back to some capacity. I was worried that we wouldn't see
Yeah.
any of it. But we also long hair V supremacy.
Yeah, she looks great. Her design looks amazing too, and we'll get there. One more little detail on this frame before we move on. The scholarship that Luce has on this board here is signed by none other than show creator Dana Terrace. So that's fun.
who also enrolls at the school.
Yeah. So what is
later.
happening here, Dana? How many of you are there?
Oh, see, the person entering the school isn't Dana Terrace. That's Taina Darris.
Taina Darris. Yeah, that's right. Luz has got her little shopping list here that she's got crossed out. There's a little L+A carved into the desk, which is fucking gay, Luz. Jeez.
Which obviously stands for Larry Adler.
Larry Adler.
Larry Adler, the acclaimed harmonica player.
Oh my gosh.
Luce is a big fan of Larry Adler.
Sure. Luce comes back on the box, puts this box on the desk, and we see that her shirt has this cool snake design, which of course is modeled after her palisman.
Well, the snakes are a leitmotif for Luce because it's like shedding the skin and becoming a new version of yourself. They said in the post-hoot that the string bean, the like snake shifter, was like a late game thought. Like it was originally just going to be a snake, and the snake motif has been sort of built throughout. And it was a random idea, like, snake shifter, that kind of got thrown in, and they ran with it pretty late in the game.
Nice. It is kind of perfect for her, so I love that idea. I love that they threw that in there.
What would your palisman be?
Oh man, I feel like we talked about this. I don't know. I feel like my palisman would be like some sort of combo cat and dog, like some sort of cat dog abomination.
It would just be cat dog.
It would just be cat dog. It would literally just be cat dog on a stick.
Oh god.
Can
and
you
all
imagine?
The hijinks ensue.
Cat Dog was a show I watched as a kid a lot, actually.
I would have a weird crab voiced by Liev Schreiber, and we would constantly have like witty back and forths that no one else could understand because all they hear is weird crab noises.
Yeah. Or Puppy Cat. Yeah, maybe Puppy Cat would be cuter than Cat Dog. Shut up.
But the idea of Cat Dog is much funnier.
It's funnier. It's definitely funnier.
They would be like, they would not be able to agree on anything. It would be so impractical. You wouldn't be able to get anything done.
Yeah. Rebecca Sugar's amphibious character is named Becca Salt. That's funny.
That's one of my favorite little
That's
little things.
hilarious. Robin's would be a burb sona. Nice. Yeah, I
Burb
want to know
sona.
everyone in the chat. What will your palismans be? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. I'm curious. What would yours be, Tom?
I just said a weird crab voiced
Oh,
by
weird
Leah
crab. That's right.
Schreiber.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, yes, yes.
No,
Weird
I
crab.
mean, if I'm being realistic, it'd just be a dog. I
Puppo.
just want a dog. I want a little any dog. I don't care. Bulldog, Boston Terrier, a
Yeah.
little collie. I don't give a rat's ass. Just
Yeah.
give me pup. Give me puppo.
Yeah. Cool. Lots of more fun details on the board here. We get the full shot of the graduation pic with Luce and V. There's a Graysfield Ghouls flag that's up there too. There's some sort of essay on here that Luce got an A+ on, and there's another little Amphibia Easter egg. There's a Polly like pin or sticker that's like on the top of this paper. Yeah, it's really cute. I love this, how many Amphibia little Easter eggs are in Owl House, and you know, how these shows are continually linked together, and the crews are friends, right? Which is really, really cool to see. There's some sort of like convention badge of some kind there. So obviously Luce is going to like fan conventions, like Comic-Con, some sort of Comic-Con thing. There's like an Azura 3D movie ticket, which is fun.
Do you think anyone's ever had a palisman that was just like an adult man?
I mean,
like if you carve your own palisman, there's no reason why you couldn't just carve a man.
I mean, maybe someone like did that. You know, Hunter. We see Hunter carving palismans at the end, so maybe Hunter just made a dude palisman of some kind.
So just like a guy, and his name is Trent. And
Could you imagine?
Like a guy.
Yeah, and instead of like you know, waving him around to cast spells, you just kind of like hold him out and ask him nicely. You're like, "Hey Trent, do you mind casting some light for me? Like I could really use some light right now. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it."
Like having a conversation with your roommate about borrowing their milk. Like,
hey
dude, I ran
dude,
out of milk.
Hey dude, I know I've been asking him for a lot lately, and I could really use a favor. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Steve's palisman is Trent. I'm convinced. Steve's palisman is just an adult man called Trent.
Just Trent, yeah. And they're just like friends.
He's just like on a stick. It's just Trent on a stick. He's just a little guy.
I need fan art of this now, please. I did see that Mooring Mark comic. You know, Mooring Mark continues to be a titan in the Owl House fandom with his amazing comics. I did see that Mooring Mark comic where I think it was Masha goes to Hunter and is like, wait, you can make any animal, fictional or real, into a palisman, and then it's like cut to her walking with like a Pikachu next to her. Or sorry, them. I'm sorry, I used the wrong pronouns. Masha walking with a Pikachu next to them that just cracked me up. I thought that was so funny.
A lot of people would do that. They'd have to make a law or something like, guys, we're going to get into so much trouble
with copyright. Yeah.
Like Nintendo cracked down so hard on copyright. You guys are just begging for a lawsuit. Please.
Oh God. That'd be so funny. But yeah, just imagining like having a Pokemon as your palisman, right? That'd be really funny too.
And also, like, the Pokemon fandom are really horny.
Like, no, stop. Okay, we're stopping there. We're not going any further. One little thing that I actually missed when I was first watching this, the scholarship that Luce gets is a writing scholarship, which I think is interesting, right? Because we saw Luce interested in writing in season 1, you know, when she and King were being authors together. So I love that, you know, that's kind of, again, there's so many little details that call back to earlier moments of the show. So I love, you know, writing scholarship because she wants to learn how to write. She wants to write stories, and I love that. I love all the photos that we get on here. They're just so freaking adorable. They make me so happy. We get this photo of Luce and Amity in the human world, and this is the barista that we saw you know, when we were on Earth. This is the same barista, I'm pretty sure. And we see Hootie leaving her some sort of tip of some kind, but it seems to be like an owl pellet instead of money. And Amity and Luce and the barista looking in horror as this happens, which is hilarious. I still think it's a crime that Hootie didn't get any speaking lines in this finale.
None
That's
at all.
still my biggest criticism of the finale.
I've been going back to get clips to pull for my Owl House video, my Lumini video.
Yeah.
And like hearing Hootie's voice again, it's like music.
Yeah.
Music
Aww.
to my ears. His annoying, grating voice. They just went to Alex Hirsch and they were like, just be as annoying as you can.
It literally, exactly. Oh, and that's perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Luce expressing her creative side. Oh yeah, Luce and Amity doing a writing club. So yeah, I love that Luce is still continuing to write and to draw. I feel like those are key parts of her character. We see this adorable photo of Luce and her family, right? Her mom and her sister, V and Camila and Luce at the zoo with the giraffes. And we know that giraffes have been a running gag throughout the show as well. So it's funny that they get a little Easter egg mentioned here.
Bunch of freaks.
Bunch of demonic freaks. We get a cute photo. I think this is actually the old season 1 photo, right? Of King, Ida, and Luce, because King's horn is still broken here. So this is the season 1 Grom photo of the 3 of them. We get this adorable freaking photo of of Camila and Ida. You cannot tell me that this is not a date. I mean, look at them. Look at the way that they're dressed and they look so good. Camila still rocking the heart pin, the rainbow heart pin, and they're drinking apple blood together. And it looks to be like they're in the Noseda household. This looks to be like the living room. So, confirm that Ida just comes over to hang out at Luce's house, which is awesome. Super cute.
Is it true that Hootie is a bad Mickey Mouse impression? Because if that's the case, then like I can think of at least 2 iconic Alex Hirsch voices, which are just bad impressions of other people.
I can totally see that if that is like the direction that they gave him. They were like, hey, just do a bad Mickey Mouse.
Because the character of Bill Cipher was penned to be voiced by David Lynch, but he could not get David Lynch to do it. So the voice we got for Bill Cipher was just him doing a terrible impression of
David. Oh, that's funny. That's actually really
which
funny.
is brilliant. Although it does make me wonder what would that character be like if it was David Lynch? Because David Lynch is like, he's not even pretending to be a strange man. He just is a strange man in the best way, but he's just a weird little guy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and there must be another universe out there where we had David Lynch as Bill Cipher, right?
David Lynch as Bill Cipher, Peter Falk as Rick Deckard, there's the Blade Runner, and Natasha Lyonne as Buffy.
Yeah, right, in that alternate universe. A couple more photos from the earlier parts of the show. This photo of Luce and Amity looking up at the stars is a photo we've seen before, which is very cute. This photo of the Emerald Entrails is a photo that we've seen before, which is very cute. And I love that these 2 photos, which are the old photos, also have the old light glyph pinned on them. I feel like that's very symbolic, right? Like, oh, this was from that era of time. And then we get 2 more new photos, which are just so precious, and I love so much. We get a new Grom photo, right? This must be from one of their future years in Hexside together. Luce and Amity just freaking adorable in the foreground here, just making silly faces, just so cute. Hunter and Willow behind them, with Willow fixing Hunter's bow tie and Hunter like smiling sheepishly at her. So cute. Gus is there as well, and V is there as well too, and V is in her basilisk form. I love that V also like goes back and forth between her human form and her basilisk form. Like whenever she's in the Boiling Isles, she's just like full basilisk, and like she doesn't need to hide herself anymore, right? And so I really love that for her, and she looks so cute here with that dress and that necklace and like her little smile. I absolutely love this photo so much. It's so precious and makes me so happy.
There's a little chicken nugget.
They're just little chicken nuggets. Yes, in that alternate reality there's a universe where we get the full Owl House as well.
And it's like 5 seasons long,
Yeah.
and
we get the beach episode.
we get the beach episode, and we get a cameo from Bob Hoskins, who in
Yes.
this universe did not die.
Exactly.
And Bob Hoskins is just in everything.
Yes.
All of the things that I've mentioned him being in, he's like actually in.
Literally. And then this last photo that's on the board here is a freaking adorable photo of Ida, King, and Hootie playing baseball together. And as we know, all King wanted to do was like play catch, right, with his parent. And now he's doing pigskin. He just wanted to throw that pigskin around, and there he is playing ball with Ida. And I'm literally gonna tear up talking about this because like every time I've watched this time skip now like multiple times, you know, because it's beautiful and amazing. But every time I watch it, I tear up. Like I legitimately, it makes me so emotional. Like the music that plays, like just seeing all these characters that like we have grown so attached to, like finally like their dreams becoming realized after all the struggle, right? Like it really gets me. I don't know about all of you, but this time skip really hits me in the feels and gets me every time.
Like this if you cry every time.
Like if you cry every time. I cry every time. I didn't notice this on the first time I watched this, but I noticed this after I watched this a couple of times. First of all, Camila, you are looking so good. I mean, I freaking the gray streaks in her hair, that blazer, the tortoiseshell pattern on her glasses. Like, Camila, like, damn, you are looking so fine, girl. Like, Camila Marry Me Challenge 2023. She looks so good.
Parentheses impossible.
Impossible.
Parentheses not clickbait.
Literally. Yeah. Oh yeah, good point, Robin, about Hunter, for sure. But yeah, Camila,
anime babes.
But yeah, Camila just looks so fucking good here. I just like I fall to my knees every time because she looks so good.
I just want to smooch her right on the lips.
So smoochable. I can't. Yeah, she looks great. I love this little string beans corner that we get. This little shelf that's up in the corner too. There's like a bunch of little sticks and stuff that you know, it's string beans little corner. It's so cute. And there's like a hanging Ratatouille mouse here, which I imagine is like her plaything or something. Rakakuni, yes, exactly.
50 points to anybody who understands that reference.
I'm
disappointed in you because you don't get that. You should.
What is it?
And I've been telling you to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once forever.
Oh yeah, I still haven't watched it.
You would love it, and it would really, really chime with you personally.
I know. It literally, everything about that movie is like it appeals to me, and I still haven't watched it.
You're an appalling human being.
Yeah, I'm a criminal.
I think you should just be arrested. You haven't splonked either, to be honest. I just realized.
Oh yeah, let me do that right now. There we go. Yeah, so there's Ratatouille there in the corner that is one of String Bean's toys, which is very cute. Camila coming in speaking Spanish. Can you help me wrap the Maduros? I actually don't know what a Maduro is, and I feel kind of embarrassed that I didn't look it up. Does anyone know what it is that can tell me?
Everyone thinks that you're a fucking hack for not having seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I know. I'm sorry.
Even Toon is like, come on, dude.
I know. I literally everything about that movie feels like it was made for me, and I still haven't watched it yet.
And Robin doesn't know what Splonk is. Can you believe that?
Robin, I think, missed the beginning of
Robin
the
doesn't.
stream.
Everybody knows what Splonk is, Robin. You're the only person on the planet who doesn't know what Splonk is.
Just go back and watch the first couple minutes of the stream when you get a chance, Robin. Yeah, fuck. Camila just looks so good here. I just want to stay on this frame. Just look at her. She looks so good. Yeah, Luz is like, I'll be right there. And I liked this little fake out that we got here, right? I thought it was funny. Obviously, you know, we have been theorizing about like what is the future of the Boiling Isles and Earth, like what is it gonna look like? Is it gonna stay open? Are they gonna close the portal? Blah blah blah. You know, obviously Amphibia had the ending where they closed it, and you know, that chapter is like behind them and all that. But I love the little fake out that we get here. But actually, before that, we find out Luce is majoring in everything, right? Which of course is so in character for her as someone who also, you know, studied all of the magic at Hexside. So obviously she's going to major in everything. And
But maybe she shouldn't. Maybe she should like not drive herself into inevitable burnout.
I was gonna say, I hope that Luce, I hope that her scholarship is not just limited to like 4 years the way that most scholarships are, because I feel like if you want to major in everything, you're probably going to be in school for longer than 4 years.
Either that or you are gonna burn out and crash.
Yeah. When I was in college, I wanted to double major. But because I had undiagnosed ADHD, I couldn't decide on a second major, and like I kept switching. Like throughout my second and third year, I kept like switching classes and kept like switching my second major, and like because I couldn't decide like what I wanted to do. And eventually, because I was on a scholarship and I couldn't stay there for more than 4 years, eventually I was like, you know what, I don't have time to do a second major anymore. I'm just gonna do a minor. And even doing that like was so taxing on my mental health, because like I had just so much work and so much stress and like figuring out all that stuff and trying to like, and I took like so many semesters where like I overloaded on credits and I like took extra classes, and that was like a huge thing. And yeah, so if you know what you want to major in, good for you. If not, then obviously there's no shame in not knowing and taking time to figure it out. But I have to, you know, if you're gonna major in multiple things, you have to be ready to put in the work for that, because it's not easy.
Don't have majors in the UK. You go to university to study a subject and you study that subject. The idea of majors is still really confusing to me.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what they are. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you go to university and you study a thing. What is a major? What does that mean?
Yeah, like a major it's basically just like it's like you choose a major as like a program, essentially, right? So for example, I majored in creative writing. And so what that meant is that I had to take certain creative writing classes and meet certain requirements in order to get my degree as a BA in creative writing. So yeah, just different majors have different requirements for different degrees is the best way I can describe it.
But then, oh, I'm so confused. What? Okay. So, what was the subject that you signed up to study centrally?
Creative writing.
So that's just a degree. What does the word major mean? What is that? I'm so confused. It's so convoluted. Why do America ruin everything?
So your major and your degree are basically the same thing, right? And so I don't know if you also have minors in the UK, but we
don't.
Yeah, so a minor is basically, so like I also minored in visual and media studies. So basically what that means is that like on my degree it says I have a minor in visual and media studies, but a minor, there's fewer requirements than a major. So like with a major you have to take like, you know, level 1, 2, and 3 classes, for example, whereas with for a minor you might only have to take like level 1 and 2 classes. And the reason I only minored in visual media studies and didn't major in it is because I didn't have time to take the classes that I needed to get the major, because I needed to graduate in 4 years. So I was only able to do the minor for that because I kept switching because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, right? So that's the difference.
Outrageously stressful.
Yeah, it was stressful. I don't recommend it to anyone.
It's but like that whole structure sounds stressful. Like when you go to university in the UK, you pick a subject. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to university to study music, and so you go to university and you study music. There's no major, there's no minor. It's like music is the thing I chose to study, and it's a structured course where they give you the timetable and you just go to the classes and you study the thing that you chose to study.
Yeah, I guess like in that sense, could you do like multiple things? Like, so for example, if you wanted to do like music and theater, right? Like, is that a possibility?
It's like in theory, kind of, maybe. It depends on the university. So for example, I let's say you went to university in London and you wanted to study music.
Yeah.
Um, if that university had a particular lecturer who ran a particular module on theatrical music, then you could choose that module. You get like a set number of modules, but you still leave with the same degree. You know, you don't leave university with a degree that says you are now a student of music with a major in theatrical. You just that just happened to be the one of the sub modules you chose, but there would
I
always
see.
be there's always a central module. There's always at least one or two central modules in all 3 years, because UK degrees are 3 years, not 4.
Right.
Where you have to show up. That's and you could choose, whatever they hand you, but you're limited to what they hand you. Like, you don't get to just choose to major in whatever the hell you want. Like, if they didn't have a lecturer who offered musical theater, you couldn't choose that.
Interesting.
Unless you chose to make that your given subject for your dissertation, where technically for a dissertation you can kind of choose to do whatever the hell you want because it's an independently led project.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, seems similar but different. Yeah, very interesting.
General education courses. I know you go to university to study a specific thing in the UK. General education is not. I mean, general education is like the education that you do until you leave school.
Yeah. I guess that's another kind of difference, because in my university, you know, like, we also had like we had a specific term for them, and I'm forgetting what it's called right now, but it's basically like you had to take a certain requirements of courses that were just like basic. Like, you had to take a math class, you had to take a, English class. I mean, it wasn't specific to that, but there were these kind of like categories of classes where like you had to at least take one class in each of these categories, which are more general education, which not all universities do that. And it's definitely like the more specialized, like if you go to a specialized like music university, most likely you won't have to do that. I didn't mind it that much, because as someone who like didn't necessarily know exactly what I wanted to major in when I first started college, it does kind of give you that opportunity to learn basic things, get the feel for different classes, get the feel for different departments, and like help you decide what to major in if you don't know yet. So in that sense, like there's pros and cons, right, to these things. And it's interesting to know that like not everywhere kind of follows that same convention.
America is a confusing place.
I mean, that's very true in and of itself, regardless of the education system. But I do want to acknowledge what Luce has majored in here, which is quite funny to me. Ancient glyphs and combos to me seems like the equivalent of learning like Latin, because it's like a dead language at this point, right? Like, also like Luce, you are the best knower of the glyphs. Why do you need to major in glyph combos? Boiling Isles history, which is fun. Boiling biology, which is fun. Thaumaturgy, which is fun. That's like a magic term that gets used. It's actually used in Buffy a couple times too. So when I saw thaumaturgy, I was like, oh hey, thaumaturgy. In Buffy, thaumaturgy refers to the creation of a creature. So like if you do a magic spell and one of the byproducts of the spell is a living creature, that's the definition of thaumaturgy in Buffy. But I know like different magic systems have different definitions for it, right?
I only know thaumaturgy from playing the Thorncraft Minecraft mod, because I'm a loser. I'm a fucking loser.
It looks like a couple of folks in the chat also studied like ancient languages and stuff like that, so that's fun. Abomination engineering, which is cool. Curses 101, and then just etc. at the bottom. She's just doing all of them. Also just Luce's design. We get the first kind of full look at it here. You know, she looks amazing. I love this snake on the shirt. She's wearing Amity's necklace, and she's got the rolled up sleeves, which is just so fucking gender right there. The patches on her pants seem to like reflect different areas of magic. She's got like the music note for the bard. She's got a little potion thing, little abomination patch, which is super cute. Also, someone pointed out that Luce's outfit kind of very closely resembles the non-binary flag colors. And, you know, even though Luce isn't like canonically non-binary the way that like different characters are in this show, I do think that Luce is one of the most like non-binary coded characters on the show. And I want to talk about that in a video one day, and it's something that I'm working on, so I won't talk about it too much now. But Luce is so fucking non-binary, like it's unreal. Like, I just love her look. I love the like that she's got like mascara or something on because her eyelashes are thicker, right? It's just it's a good look. I love her. She's great.
Dana Terrace understands the drip.
She really does. Dana is really good at drawing fashion. Yeah, and then we get the little fake out, right? The it'll be nice to see everyone after all this time. And yeah, I was definitely, I think Toon said it in the chat that made my heart sink for a second. Yeah, there was definitely a moment where I was like, wait a second, did we close the portal? What's going on here? And then of course immediately like we get this like sorrowful look from Camila first that makes us really think like, oh god, has it really been like that long since they last saw each other?
As it turns out,
and then
she's just thinking like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, literally, exactly. And then like she just, and I also love this expression, like this sassy Camila look right here is just like, I want to kiss this face so bad.
Just a little smooch.
Just a little smooch. Yeah. She says,
she's got such squishy cheeks.
I love her cheeks. I love her face. I love her attitude. She's just great, and I love her. She's perfect. But yeah, she says you saw them last week, right? Which is, of course, the fake out that we get. Also, yeah, apparently String Bean got longer, which is fun. We cut back to V out in the hallway, who is, excitedly listening. And of course, they've got their party plan and everything. A couple more cute photos in the background here. We get a little photo of String Bean with the pumpkin on her head, and it's so freaking adorable. I love it. It's so cute. And then we get this super cute photo of Luce and V playing baseball or softball or something like that, but Luce is like holding V up in the air, and it's the freaking cutest thing ever. And I'm dead. I'm dying, and I'm dead.
You have ceased.
I've ceased to exist. Also, yes, V's character design looks so incredible. I love the nose ring. I love her long hair. I love she also seems to be wearing the shirt that we see later in the time skip, which is the human Boiling Isles like appreciation society that like Gus seems to be running. So V is wearing a shirt for that, so it makes sense that she would be one of the kind of like ambassadors of like this. I mean, it almost seems like they've got like an exchange program or something going on at the end, right? So the fact that she's involved with that, and like the fact that V is involved with that as well too, I feel like really speaks so much to like her character growth and her journey that she has been on, like that we kind of just saw in the background, right? Like we know that she is a character that like experienced immense trauma as she was like kidnapped and tortured literally by Bellows, and she was a character that like wanted to escape the Boiling Isles. And even in the first special, right, like she didn't want to go back to the Boiling Isles, and now that she is like this person and she's come so far, she's like totally comfortable, first of all, being, in her basilisk state and going back to the Boiling Isles like freely back and forth, right? Like I just think that that's such a testament to her and her character, the fact that she's like so comfortable just going back and forth between Earth and the Boiling Isles now. Like both of these places are her home now, right? Which really goes to show how far that she's come. And we love V. In this house we stand and love V, and I wish that we got more of her, but I feel like we got a great amount of her, and I'm really happy with what we got.
It occurs to me that there aren't that many shows of this ilk which conclude on the note of a character being like contemptfully alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it always, it's almost like an unspoken rule that we have to end on the note of like the power of friendship, and friendship makes us whole, and look at all the great friends we've made. There are not that many shows where it's like this character's alone, but they're like fine with being alone.
Right.
they're completely okay with being, there's nothing wrong with being alone. There's nothing wrong with being solitary by design, or individual. I think the closest I can think of is Steven Universe, which almost makes a point of Steven's individualism.
Mm.
And even the conclusion of Future is a moment of solitude.
Yeah.
Rather than togetherness, and his like declaration of individualism in the form of the song that he sings in Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
Like that.
Totally. Yeah, so Luce was gone from the Boiling Isles for a week because she was studying for finals, which is cute. I love this little moment with V and Albert, and I love that Albert is the one that we see in this time skip go. So we Albert goes to the new house, which has a lot of fun details on it as well, right? We see some of these flowers that are in the front kind of remind me of the Ida's Requiem flowers a little bit, of that, like that hillside with rain. So maybe that's a little nod to that. The house is now sold to the Nocedas. So Camila and Luz seem to have bought this house and, renovated it. And I think like we never got a confirmation of this, but I think it has been heavily implied and maybe confirmed after the fact that this house did belong to the Wittabanes, right? Caleb and Philip. But now it belongs to the Nocedas, and it's been renovated. And one thing that I really love too, and I didn't notice this until I was looking at this frame just now, but there's so much bird imagery all over this house. There's like a little bird, on the porch here. There's the fountain that's here in the corner. There's like so many little bird houses, like in all these corners, on the trees, everywhere. And then of course there's like the owl weather vane on the top. There's like another bird. There's like 3 or 4 bird weather vanes on the top of this house. So yeah, and then there's another painting of a bird by the door here. Yeah, so there's just like lots of birds everywhere here, right? Which of course, I think calls back to the owl house itself, right? And now this is the portal between the two. And then of course, Albert being the one that brings us through this door. Albert was the one that brought us to the door at the beginning of the show in the first episode. So I love that this is kind of a callback to that.
Yeah. That's all I have to say of that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have nothing more structured to say.
No, yeah,
but
no worries.
It's nice. It brings it all full circle.
Yeah, it's very sweet. And then we hear the collector's voice as the door opens, welcome to the Boiling Isles. It sounds almost like a carnival ride, like the step right in, welcome to the, fun house or whatever.
Very in character.
Yeah, it is. It's really cute. Really, really, really adorable. Gives you Steven Universe vibes. Yeah, the star for sure.
Steven Universe would love it here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, the music. I'm going to tear up again as we talk about this part because the music just really, really gets me. We see Albert like flying. We see the arm is up and we can actually see that they've been rebuilding like vertically on the arm. Like, and so I would love to see more about like how they've rebuilt society on this arm vertically here. Yeah, it looks so cool.
The art of book, which I
really please let's give us an art book and show us photos of this new society on the arm because that would be so cool. Albert flies across. I'm trying not to let it play too long because I don't want to get copyright struck. And then we see Willow show up on screen. She is looking freaking adorable. I love her short hair. She's wearing an Emerald Entrails outfit. It's a great design. I know we talked a little bit about the alternative designs for Willow, and I feel like all of Willow's designs were really good. Like she literally never looks bad. She looks great in every design. But I love the one that they chose, the Emerald Entrails one. It's a really cute look for her. And like, it's a big part of her character as well too, right? So I love that she's continuing to play Flyer Derby in the future as well too. It's really nice to see.
And continuing to be swole.
Was TJ Hill the one who did this track tune? That actually explains a lot and explains why I loved it so much. Because I feel like I loved the music in season 2, don't get me wrong, but TJ Hill really brought something special to the show in season 1. So I'm really happy to hear that he's the one who did this final bit too.
TJ Hill is like an absolute cut above. I can't think of that many composers in Western animation, like TV animation, who I think are better than TJ Hill. Definitely the who were the two who did the music for Steven Universe?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Something and Surashu did a duo. They set the bar so high, I don't think anybody will ever surpass that. But yeah, Brad Breek is neat, but you know, I don't feel like dunking on anybody. But
no, yeah, but Brad
Hill,
Breek is great. He's wonderful, but TJ Hill is definitely like legendary.
When you listen to the music in the pilot episode, the first episode rather, it's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the theme song is so good. Like, ugh. Yeah, just shout out to TJ Hill. He's amazing. We see Hunter is here and he is carving a palisman. He's carving like some sort of like axolotl or something like that. But I really love how unusual these animals are that we see in the background. Like there's an anglerfish, there's a sloth, there's like a capybara, right? They're like not just like normal animals. They're like very kind of unusual animals, which I think is very, you know, fitting for Hunter. And it's really cute. I love that Hunter has become a palisman carver. We see Braxis is here as well too. He's gotten taller and he's wearing braces now, which is really cute. And he's like got a double magic track thing going on as well. It seems like most of the students now are mixing magic, which is obviously a big theme of the show, right? The idea of like the magic being segregated as like a metaphor for colonialism. So the idea that the students are all now mixing magic and doing whatever they want is very poetic in that way.
Yeah, I like the poetry, for lack of a better term, of Hunter making palisman when it was once his job to round them up to be eliminated.
Right? Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's so true. And actually, since we're at the time skip, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch the video because I know Disney uploaded a textless version without the credits on top of it. So I'm going to go to that one. Yeah, so Hunter being a palisman carver, I didn't even think about that how poetic it is that, you know, he used to be someone who rounded them up for Bellows and now, and you know, essentially ended their life, and now he's the person who's giving the palisman life, right? And so that's really beautiful. And also like it's poetic in the sense that you know, we know that Hunter is a descendant of Caleb, and we know that Caleb was like a wood carver and you know, potentially carved palisman when he was with Evelyn. And so it's nice to see that come full circle. And also the fact that we know that Hunter is related to the Clawthorns indirectly, and the fact that he is now working with Dell and Gwendolyn and the Bat Queen too, right? And they're all like growing new palstrom trees, and you know, they're all working.
He doesn't even know.
He doesn't even know that they're related and they're working together. But it's kind of beautiful in that way too, right? Like they don't need to know. Like the fact that they are working together is their choice, right? And they don't even need to know that they are related to be a family, right? Which I think is kind of beautiful. Also Hunter has a new palisman as well too, right? We finally get to see Waffles, I think is the confirmed name for this one, which I know Dana said that she thinks of Waffles as like a little sister to Flapjack, which again I'm gonna start tearing up. That's so freaking cute.
Why do they always come up with cute nice names instead of terrible awful names?
Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, the fact that their ancestry was left ambiguous in universe, I like it. I like that I think we got the right amount to piece it together.
I don't think it was ambiguous. Right? I think we as an audience know, but the characters don't. I wouldn't say it was ambiguous by any stretch of the imagination. I just think the characters don't know.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about how each of the Bat Queen's children have like a unique look going for them? Like one of them has like a bucket hat, one of them has like a mohawk with flame sunglasses, and the other one has like a dyed like side swoopy fringe, which is very silly. It's a fun little detail that I appreciate. There's so many fun little details in
They're gonna
this.
become a boy band, and you know it.
Yeah, yes, the Bat Boy band for sure. We also didn't talk about the tattoos, the Flapjack tattoos, right? They all the Hexide squad got these matching Flapjack tattoos, which is very, very sweet, very wholesome, very cute.
I'd find it funny if one of them just didn't have it.
Oh no,
like,
they all got it. They're all friends.
But what if one of them were like, I don't want a tattoo. I don't consent to this. I don't want a tattoo.
No.
Like, what happens then?
They all do it, and it's cute. I also I love that for one single frame. You know, we get this very cute little fluid animation of Hunter and Willow like running together. They're holding hands and they're sliding down this hill. And I love that Willow is like holding Hunter. And for a single frame, we get Dot Eyes Hunter, which is really, really cute. Every time I watch this time skip, I always pause on this frame because I have a very, very soft spot for Dot Eyes in art style. So I love that just for a split second we get this expression because it's just super cute.
like JP.
Yeah, like JP Dot Eyes. So cute. And also Hunter and Willow are so cute. I love that like, you know, it's heavily implied that they are a couple, that they are together, but I love that we never really get straight out confirmation for them. Like we never get a kiss or anything like that. It's just sort of like we see them be cute together and hold hands and hug and hold each other, which is very sweet. But I actually kind of like the fact that it's not like as explicit as Lumity, that it's kind of more subtle. It's just they're cute and I also like, now that I'm saying that out loud, I feel like there's something to be said for the fact that the sapphic relationship is so explicit, and you know they call each other girlfriends and they kiss on the lips, and you know they have this relationship in the show that's very unambiguous, right? Like there's no denying that Luz and Amity are girlfriends, whereas like with Hunter and Willow, like yeah, surprise, shocker, right?
Yeah,
wait,
crazy. How
they're
did I
gay?
Miss that?
But with Hunter and Willow, right? It's not as explicit. It's kind of just implied in the background, and so I wonder if that is kind of like a little bit of a subversion of that idea of, you know, hetero relationships are
cheeky.
Yeah, hetero relationships are explicit, but you know it's implied in the background that the sapphic couple is a couple, right? In previous shows in the past, so I wonder if that is kind of like a little subversion of that. Which, if it is, I think it's clever. And also they're just so cute. They're just very, very adorable. I like the ship. I know people hate it for some reason, but I think it's cute.
Some people wanted Willow to end up with I actually don't know. Who were the other contenders? What were people mad about?
I know some people liked Willow and Luz, which you know, it's cute. It's a cute ship. I know some people liked Willow and Basha as like the, you know, the bully trope. And I know some people really hate that. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I don't like it or hate it either way. Yeah,
at least
I don't know.
At least there were no like weird ones like Willow and Bump or something.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are, but we don't need to talk about that.
I just want Bump to marry me instead.
So yes, Bump's got the rump, as we all know.
We need to make that pen.
We need to definitely make that.
Become overnight millionaires.
Absolutely. But yeah, I do love Huntlow. I think they're cute. And then you know, we get this.
Also, I'm sorry, Huntlow is a trash ship name. Winter. I hate it because it's like, why pick the word that is clunkiest and hardest to say? Winter. I think
because if you're tagging things as winter, it's not as easily findable, right? As
that's cheap. That's pathetic.
I guess that's the biggest controversy. Do you call it Huntlow or Winter?
Winter is cool. Huntlow is like terrible.
Find it out in the chat anyway. And then we get this really, really sweet, you know, this definitely tugged at my heartstrings, the headstone for Flapjack. Thank you for finding me, he says on the headstone. Ugh, my heart just being crushed into a million pieces. And I saw someone point out on Twitter that Hunter, when he's first introduced, talks about how he was found by Belos. You know, Belos found me or whatever, right? Because I didn't have a family. And this kind of like
idea now that Flapjack is the one who really found Hunter, right? And it's kind of like a beautiful parallel in that way. And I'm gonna tear up again because it's so lovely. And I love Flapjack being that kind of catalyst for Hunter to open up and be vulnerable, you know, and yeah, it's a very sweet tribute, that this moment that we get here.
Like this if you cry over Tim.
I cry every time. Like if you cry every time. So they are flying across the Boiling Isles, and we get these just neat little shots of the way that the Boiling Isles has grown and changed. Basha is back here selling Grudgeby gear. You know, these are all these side characters that we've seen before as well too, which is fun. Hexside is like being rebuilt, and we see frickin' Kikimora is here. She's there and she's rebuilding. You know, of course she had to be there, but am I happy to see her? I don't know. And
I've never
Mythology.
known anybody who so vehemently hated Kikimora.
I might be her number one hater. I'll take that if that's someone, if no one else is gonna take up that mantle, I will happily take up that mantle of number one Kikimora hater.
I can think of other characters in this show who I dislike more than Kikimora.
I genuinely can't. So
or whose presence frustrated me more than Kikimora.
I genuinely can't. So there she is. But I love this little shot of Mytholomeal that we get to, right? He's got his mustache, his real mustache now that he's so proud.
Well, how do we know it's real?
Because he runs his fingers over it. He like goes. He
could have used a different kind of pen.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Smudge, is all of it. He's got a pencil right there. Like, how do we know?
Fair enough.
We don't know for sure. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. It's cute. It's a cute little moment. And then we get this moment with Lilith. Oh my god, freaking Lilith, right? She opens these blueprints, which are super cute. First of all, library edition museum wing, which is so cool. Space for student exhibits, must call bump, glyph exhibit here in the corner. I didn't actually notice this until right now, but do you remember in the episode where they do the time loop and Lilith is just like so excited to talk about the
Edwardian balusters?
The Edwardian balusters. She has it here. She has it drawn in the middle here with the word finally with hearts next to it, which she finally got her freaking balusters, people. Shout out to Lilith. She finally did it. I'm so proud of her.
Hootie is the curator.
Yes, Hootie is the curator with little hearts there, which is very cute. I love the way that this is drawn too. It reminds me of do you remember that gag where Rain is like trying to get to the outhouse and he's like him pointing at the Hootie drawing? It just reminded me of that gag. Hall of Titan research and a bunch of other fun things that are around here. So yeah, Lilith is running this like museum now, which is of course fitting for her because we know that she's a historian, and I absolutely adore her design here. She looks so freaking good with that coat and her short curly hair, red hair with like a little bit of graying in it, right? Like, and her glasses, like, damn, she just looks really good. I really love this. And she looks like, and you know, we've talked about like Lilith's hair and her outfits, her fashion, right, as a kind of marker of her character growth and her journey, right? Like her having her straight dyed black hair as like that symbol of her like repressing herself in a lot of ways, right? And now she's freed and her locks are loose and her hair is bright red, and you know, she is her true self that she's fully embracing and loving now. So it really goes to show her own growth as well too, right?
And also she's got the drip.
She's got the drip. She's got some serious drips. She do be slaying, exactly, Robin. Yeah, it would have been nice to see more Lilith for sure. I agree with that, but yeah, I feel like I love that. I love her. I love Lilith.
Me too. We're Lilith defenders in this.
We're Lilith defenders. Also, I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, but as I was rewatching this cracked me up so much. But you know, we see the next shot, right, is of Amity landing her ship. But before her ship lands, it causes this like gust of wind. And as the wind gust blows, Hootie is like blowing in the background, and it's like the funniest animation I've ever seen in my life. Like Hootie just like flapping in the background as this wind is blowing is, I don't know. The animators
Like-
just must have had a great time animating that, because it cracks me up so much. It's so funny.
Like one of those inflatable tube.
Yeah, he looks like one of
arm
those
guys
inflatable arm tube guys.
Where they have a car dealerships.
Exactly.
But only in America. Those do not exist in the UK. They're
Yeah.
very much an American phenomenon, and
Yeah.
we're all very confused as to why.
Yeah.
What is it about them that makes them so good at selling cars?
I don't know. I don't know. But they do it. So yeah, Hootie looks like one of those, and it's hilarious. Still a criminal that he didn't get any speaking lines. I'm never gonna not be upset about that.
When you inevitably meet Dana Terrace, you will throw down the
That's
gauntlet
literally the
about that.
only thing I'm gonna talk about. Like, how dare you not give Hootie any speaking lines in the finale? Amity's airship looks so cute and funny too, right? She's got her ship that's like shaped as a cat, which is quite funny. And I absolutely adore her design as well too. Like, she just looks so good. The like engineering outfit. She's got the little bottle of abomination goop on her hip that we've seen her use before, you know, like Katara water bending style that we've seen her use before. So she's got that. You know, she's got one of my favorite little details of her design too is the fact that she's wearing the Grom crown as like a scrunchie in her hair, and I think that that's just brilliant. Like, that's so adorable. That's so cute. And of course, she's got the flapjack tattoo on her arm as well. Amity looks great here.
The outrageous hair.
Her hair.
So cool.
It's so cool. She's got the undercut, classic lesbian look. We love to see it. Yeah, Amity is just like peak lesbian, I think, and I adore her look here, and I also love that Lilith and Amity seem to have like rekindled their kind of mentor student relationship, right? I love
because now they've both changed,
Yeah,
and they can meet again as evolved, fully fledged individuals with their own wants and needs and hopes and dreams, and they're not projecting onto each other the design set out for them by, you know, the class system and the emperor and
yeah
family,
I love this little
etc.
hug, this spinny hug that we get between the two of them here. So it's clear that they've come a long way in their relationship too, right? And I really love that, because Amity, you know, we've kind of, it's implied that Odalia doesn't really redeem herself in the end here, you know. So like Amity doesn't really have a good mother figure, right? So I love that Lilith is kind of there for her in that capacity, like almost as a mother figure to her, because Amity has a shitty mom.
And also Camila.
Also Camila, of course. Also, something
we
I
just
did
acknowledge the fact that the only character in the show who has not changed at all, I guess Odalia, but like the only character except for Odalia who has not changed at all is Hootie, proving that Hootie was perfect.
He's
to
literally
begin with.
perfect from the start. Exactly. Yeah. Treasure Planet Amity. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, Ed. Also
Treasure Calamity.
Also, a little detail I didn't notice before too. I don't know if this is like an old book that they're researching, or maybe this is like a new book that they're writing about the history of the Boiling Isles. But the cover of this book seems to have the archivists on it and the Titan who's like holding a ball of light. And then there's like the wild witches, kind of similar to the wild witches that we saw in the mural in the castle that's like on the bottom here. So yeah, I don't know if they're kind of like rewriting the history of the Boiling Isles based off of like the real truth of the matter, or if this is like some old history text that they've like discovered and uncovered or something like that. But in any case, it's very cool, and I like that we get that little detail of, you know, Amity and Lilith working together on like the Boiling Isles history and the museum and all that stuff too, right? Like, it's just very cool. I really love that. Also, can we talk about how Bartholomew has an S the S tattoo, you know, that S that everyone draws when they're in middle school on their desk. Like, he literally has that as a tattoo.
That's embarrassing. He's gonna come to regret that in a few years.
That's so funny. That's so funny to me.
But Bartholomew really is the poster child of making like very questionable life choices.
Absolutely. It's just funny. It's really funny. And then of course we get the reveal of Harpy Lilith. We see Lilith has also embraced her Harpy mode, and she has control over it, similar to Ida now. So she flies up into the air in Harpy mode, her wings extending, and I love the design. I love the contrast between the two Owl Beast designs, right? Like Lilith's is kind of more of a darker themed with like the brown and the black, whereas Ida's is more like gray and white, right? It's a cool contrast to their designs, and yeah, it just looks cool, neat. Love it. It looks cool.
The furries ate well.
Yes, the furries are eating well. We cut to Hexside, and we see Skara is here, and her glow up design looks wonderful as well too. She's continuing her bard magic with playing this harp. I love the outfit that they gave her and her hair. She just looks great, and she's like playing music for the younger kids, and literally all of these kids have mixed uniforms. They're all combining magic in some way, right? So that seems to just be the new norm for Hexside, which is really, really cool.
Meanwhile, I'm just there getting very confused about how their major minor system works.
Yeah.
Huge fast, and they're just like, "What? Who is this guy? What is he doing? What is he doing here?"
Oh my gosh. We see Barkus is here, and he's helping out a student, and it has been pointed out several times that this student who seems to be doing some sort of potion plant magic is, of course, Rebecca Rose, who started off as a YouTuber and covered the Owl House on YouTube, and eventually transitioned to being a production assistant on the show, which is really awesome for her. So it's cool to see how far that she's come as well, and actually getting a cameo in the finale is just like really, really awesome. So super happy for her that she made it this far, and it's awesome to see people who started off on YouTube kind of make their way into the industry, which is awesome.
It gives us dreams.
Yes, it gives us dreams and hope. And then we see the next student, the next little cameo that we get here is, of course, what did we say? Tana Darris.
Tana Darris herself showed up first day.
Tana Darris herself. Yeah, she's wearing the Owl House pin. Like, I literally think she has this beanie and pin in real life. And the shark tattoo, too, is something that she has in real life as well, too. So that's just fun little creator cameo in there. And it also seems to be that this professor, right, this was the healing professor before, she seems to be the headmaster now of the school. So which that's interesting.
It's sort of symbolic.
Yeah, symbolic of everyone.
A healer would become the person in charge of the school.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's I didn't even connect those two dots together, but yeah, that's really beautiful.
Creator cameos are kind of interesting to me. To sort of see how people do them differently. You know, I feel like Dana Terrace went the simple route of just having a little oh, there I am in the background.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick McHale went the other route of just like utterly roasting himself in the form of what is his name, Jason Funderburker.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that Jason Funderburker was actually like his cameo. That's so
like,
funny.
What if I've designed a character and like created a character that's my self-insert, but I also made them pathetic?
But the funniest thing about Jason Funderburker is that he's like this pathetic, like dork-ass loser with like a bowl cut or whatever. But Wirt is all like, damn, he's such a ladies' man. I can't compete with him.
He's the total package.
He's the total package, exactly.
And then like he shows up and he's just like, "Hey, Sarah, ready to go?" "Hey, Sarah, do you believe in ghosts?"
Man, how do I compete with that? Like, literally. Oh my god, yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, I love creator cameos. You know, I think like I think that they can be really fun. And I also saw someone point out the fact that Dana's magic emphasis here seems to be like construction and abomination, I think, which like makes sense for like the creator of the show, right? Like she literally constructed this entire show. So it's kind of fitting in that way too.
And Stromination.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that tune that Owen Dennis also voices Sad One in Infinity Train, which is very fitting for him too, I think.
Poor Sad One.
So good, so good. Bump is here. He's living his best life. He's looking good, you know. He's aged really well. He's still got that rump, and he's doing plant magic as well, or he's gardening, I should say. And someone actually had a headcanon that I really liked, and I wish I remember who wrote this, because I really like this headcanon, that Bump himself, like when we see him in the show, he's like an abomination person. Like he primarily does abomination magic, I think, but we like see him do plant magic every so often. And like here in this finale, right, like it's assumed that he's retired at this point, since the healing coven or the healing professor took over as principal, and so assumedly Bump has retired, and Bump is just like living his days, you know, spending his time gardening and living his best life. But I really love this headcanon that someone had, that Bump himself like is kind of more drawn to plant magic and to gardening and all that stuff, which is why he was kind of sympathetic towards Willow in season 1, and like was allowing her to switch tracks, because maybe he like saw a little bit of himself in her. And I like that connection. If that is something that was there, I think that's really sweet.
I didn't even think about that. I must confess to having failed at analyzing the kind of magic that Bump was using. I was paying too much attention to his glorious glutes.
His glutes and his glorious, beautiful long lock of hair, right? I mean,
it's the only magic I care about.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love Bump. I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he's living his best life, retiring and gardening and all that stuff too. I absolutely love this next scene for so many reasons, right? Like Alador, Rain, Darius, and Gerbo. First of all, I love that Gerbo is back here, because if you remember back in season 2, in the episode where Hunter goes to Hexside and he like meets the kids, and he like meets Gerbo, and like Hunter is like, don't you just love our like military system that we've got going on in the Boiling Isles? And Gerbo is like, nah, fuck that, I'm gonna change the system, right? Like he was the one who's like, I'm gonna, you know, this system sucks and we're gonna change it, whatever, and I'm gonna be the one. So I love that Gerbo is here. He did it. He's living out his dream of changing the system, and I love that for him. It's really awesome. And all of them seem to be wearing the new that new Titan skull symbol of the Boiling Isles, right? No longer the Emperor's sigil. It's this little skull symbol now, which they all seem to be rocking, which is awesome.
The Emperor's fucking dead.
Yeah, he's dead, bitch.
Fucking killed him. Killed his ass. They got him.
Yeah, they fucking got him. One more thing I absolutely love about this scene: this kid who is here getting his glyph, his sigil taken off. This is the same character that we saw in the first time that we saw someone get a sigil on their wrist in the convention episode, right? Like when these sigils were first introduced to us, this was the character that we saw.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is like another full circle moment of now we get to see he's the first one that is getting it removed, which is really, really cool. And
it's a bloody good thing it worked.
Yeah, right. And I
love like explode him or something. That would have been very awkward.
And I love that, like, all the characters that are helping with this, you know, we see Viney, we see Emera. These are all healing magic people that we've seen before. And I really love that something that seems to be emphasized in this moment, right, is that everyone is working as a team. Like, this is a collective effort. And the idea of, like, community coming together to dismantle the scars of a colonial regime, right? I think that that's very poetic and beautiful as well. And I feel like this illustrates that point very beautifully.
In other words, puntatori today.
literally.
Just puntatori.
Just puntatori.
Fucking do it. it's morally encouraged.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, and it's totally akin to group healing. That's so true too. And so yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in this scene that I really like. Yeah, so the sigil gets removed and they are I love this little celebratory moment that we get between Alador and Darius too, right? Like, you all know me, you all know that I am a Darius Rain shipper and a Ida Camila shipper. You know that that's where my heart is always going to be. But this was a cute moment between Alador and Darius as well. And also something I didn't notice until just now. Some people were talking about how in season 2 there was a moment with Hunter and Willow where they were talking and they were in the school, and behind them on the blackboard there was like an anatomically drawn heart in between those two characters, and I only just noticed right now with this moment of Alador and Darius that there's also an anatomically drawn heart behind them as well. So I think that this moment is meant to imply that these two have something going on between them, which
They've got some stuff that they need to talk out.
Yeah, which is
perhaps
very
over
cute.
a milkshake.
Over a milkshake, yeah, exactly.
Perhaps over a milkshake later.
exactly. But it's very, very cute. One more little detail in this scene that I absolutely adore. Alador is a character that had to have a little bit of a redemption arc himself too, right? And I really love I like Alador. I know a lot of people are like, don't forget, Alador is still a shitty parent too. And I feel like he's really come a long way in terms of like correcting his past behavior, right? Like there's no doubt in my mind that he has made mistakes, right? In enabling Odalia, in like, not sticking up for his kids, right? Like there's definitely mistakes that were made. But the fact that he acknowledged those mistakes and wanted to change, I think is a big testament to his character. And one little detail that I see here that really shows that he genuinely loves and cares about his kids, we actually see on his belt, he has these 3 little gems. One of them is like this green diamond, one of them is this blue teardrop, and one of them is this crescent moon. And those are all symbols that we've seen on his kids before. This is like Ed and Emra's and Amity's little symbols, little gems. And so he has them on his belt. And so Alador is a character that has like acknowledged his mistakes and like very much wants to be in his kids' lives, right? And so I feel like that's a big testament to his character. And I wish we could have gotten to see a little bit more of him and kind of gotten to see more of his like growth in that way and kind of acknowledge his mistakes a little bit more. But I feel like we got a good amount of it to show us that Alador is like a decent dad now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things we can probably assume would have existed in some form in a full season 3 that we did not get. But
right, yeah.
we got enough to fill in the blanks. There's been a time skip, and we can assume that certain things happened in that time.
Yep, exactly.
Conversations that were had.
Yep, exactly.
Milkshakes that were shared.
Milkshakes that were shared, exactly.
Over at Pete's Diner.
Yep. I absolutely adore this moment of Darius scruffling Hunter's hair with his abomination hand. Daddy Darius is peak dad. We love him. So cute.
We've been daddying that Darius since day one.
Exactly. Someone pointed out, I think Dana pointed out, that Rain's Palisman, the fox, was actually their
violin. Yeah,
was in their violin. So that's interesting. I never noticed that before. But yeah, they've got a fox, which is cute. Actually, a fox. I feel like a fox is really fitting for Rain too, as someone who is like foxes are. I forget the technical term for this, but they are a animal that is both predator and prey, right? There's someone like similar to cats, right? Like they both hunt and are hunted. So I feel like that is actually really fitting for Rain, who is someone who like, is very brave, is very strong, much like a predator, but also like is kind of fearful and kind of like, has that stage fright and that skitterishness, like the same as foxes kind of do. So yeah, it's fitting. I like it. We know that Alador got full custody. Yeah, totally, Robin. Totally, absolutely. Did we lose Tom?
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So I love these little shots that we get of the animals too. Like it just goes to show, because I think like also like when we're talking about colonialism, we can't really ignore oh yeah, that's true. Rain is also clever like a fox. I like that a lot too. And Rain is foxy. That's funny.
I already said that, and everyone ignored it.
I'm sorry. I missed you saying that.
To be fair, I whispered it because I was trying to be cheeky. But, you know, what I get. It's what I get for not paying proper attention to my audio control.
One of the kind of like major themes that we often see with colonialism, right, is this kind of like reclamation of nature. So I really love that we get these like just brief shots of like the animals and the creatures of the Boiling Isles too, right? Like we see this the slither beast that we saw back in season 1, you know, on the knee in the snowy area of the Boiling Isles. And the slither beast has a little babby now too. Like all these animals have like babbies now, which is like, you know, very symbolic of like, you know, the future of the Boiling Isles, the next generation, you know, nature is healing and reclaiming itself, right? Like, so I really love these just little shots, little callbacks again too, right, to earlier seasons. So we get the slither beast and the little slither babby, and then we get this shot of the Selkie Damas, and the Selkie Damas has a little sea puppo babby as well too. Very, very cute. And I just love that we get those little brief moments.
I particularly enjoy the Selkie Damas cameo because I really like that episode.
Yeah.
Got a real soft spot for that episode.
Yeah, that's
Steve
like one of my
Bloom is
favorite
in that
episodes
episode
too.
as well.
Yeah.
I had no idea Steve Bloom was even in it, but he plays the sea captain man.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Spike Spiegel himself.
Yeah.
Showing up in the Owl House.
Amazing. Yeah, totally agree too, that we get just the Boiling Isles scenery and the nature and all that good stuff. Yeah, absolutely magical. Just the callbacks to the earlier episodes is really fun and tugs at the heartstrings, right? Really shows us how far we've come. The University of Wild Magic is this new university that Ida seems to be the head of now. Really, really cool. This tree also feels familiar to me, but I don't know where we've seen it before. I'm sure we've seen it at some point. So Rain, Lilith, and the crew, you know, show up at the university, and we get to see a bunch of these different kind of classes that people are taking, which are really cool. So we see Edric is here, and he's teaching some sort of like beast keeping class of some kind. He's got like this one-eyed bat that he's showing off to, or maybe it's some illusion class, maybe it's like a combo class, right? Like beast illusions or something like that, because he seems to be doing like an illusion spell of some kind. So yeah, that's cool, that's fun, love to see it. I'm
just looking for the tree because I'm trying to see if I recognize the tree.
Maybe it's the Grom tree, I don't know,
because the only tree I can think of at the top of my head that was of any importance was the Grom tree.
Yeah.
I also like that the little animation that they did of Ida popping through the door.
Yeah.
Is that's like the credits, like the original?
Oh, maybe
the credits when she does that motion.
I know the credits are kind of playing throughout this entire thing, I think.
No, like the original credits, like season 1.
Oh, yeah. I think so. I think you're right.
Like she does that little animation where the door opens.
Yeah, yeah, it is very similar to that. I actually didn't even make that connection. You're so right. As Albert is flying, we get a glimpse of more classes, right? We see the looking glass guy, the crazy illusion guy, is teaching a class on the Galderstones, and he's now here teaching these students. And then we get this shot of Gus, right? He is teaching a class of some kind, demon realm, human realm exchange program that they've got going on here, right? This
showing them the dangers of the paperclip.
The dangers, yeah. Don't eat this. Thinking that it was imitating Luz's motions? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the dangers of the paperclip. Do not eat this whatsoever. Also, like, I really do like Gus's new design. I think he looks very cool. Yeah, a shame that he's not as squishy and adorable as he was before, but I do like the locks in his hair and the glasses. I think it's a good look.
Maybe it wasn't. I know that specific animation loop of Ida spinning the staff is from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's not Luz. It's definitely Ida. And I think
you're right. I think it is from the intro.
I think it's from the season 2 intro.
It's one of the intros. I think you're right.
Season 2.
One fun little detail, actually, before we get Ida busting through the doors, we see a kind of owl house reminiscent door. First of all, there's like an owl hootie looking thing in the middle of the door here. We see a little photo of Rain off in the corner, very cute, very sweet. And then we actually see 2 basilisks here that are just chilling. And I love that we just get a glimpse of them as well too, right? Because we never really got any clue as to like what happened to them after Belos like kidnapped them. So the fact that they're just like chilling and hanging out just goes to show, right, that yeah, even they're free now to just like do what they please and live their best life. And yeah, I'm really happy for them. It's really cool that we got a little, yeah, V's basilisk siblings, exactly. We just get a little cameo of them, which is fun.
Assimilated back into society.
Yeah.
In a healthy way.
Absolutely. And I think you are right, Tom, that the animation of Ida coming through the door is the same as one of the intros. Something that's really cute in the background of Ida's little headmaster office is she has these photos up in her office, and she has that photo of Ida, Luz, and King wearing the matching sweaters in the background. I love that. And then she has that photo of Lilith and her, the high school days back in the Grudgeby days, right? So yeah, absolutely love that she has these old photos in her office. And yeah, she's rocking the hook hand, looking full pirate as she does. And I really dig the design. I know that we were disappointed that she didn't get a mechanical arm.
I wanted a robot hand, but I like that Ida has a much healthier relationship with her own past.
Yeah, absolutely.
She never used to have. She used to very much kind of bury it.
Yeah, and we've talked before about Ida's character arc being one that's like very similar to that of disability, and how the owl beast and the curse was kind of a allegory for disability. And now we see that she's missing an arm, and she has this like aid in the form of a hook, right? And so like Ida as a character, as like a kind of I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is, but she's kind of an icon in the sense of disability representation, right? Like she's very I really love the way that she's written through that lens of disability representation. And I love the fact that she doesn't cure her curse, and even Lilith doesn't cure her curse in the end too, right? Like they just learn to manage and live with it, and it's like a part of them. So yeah, I feel like the Owl House, in terms of like disability writing and the way that those metaphors work, I really like it. I know that some people have their critiques of it, but I think that it was handled with a lot of thought and care. And I really think that that's like also a core part of the show, right? Because like when we're talking about queerness, when we're talking about people who don't fit in the cis hetero patriarchal capitalist system, colonial capitalist system, when we talk about the people who don't fit into that, it's not just LGBTQ people, right? It's Black people, it's people of color, it's indigenous people, it's disabled people, it's young people, right? It's children, it's all these people, it's female people, non-binary people, right? Like it's all these different people that don't fit into that mold. And the Owl House is really about how anyone who doesn't fit into that system they can find their way without having to conform to that system, right? Like weirdos stick together. We can find our people without having to change or compromise who we are. And so I love that the Owl House didn't shy away from including disability in that, you know, kind of representation as well. And I feel like Ida is such a great character to give us that representation.
Franz Kafka would be so proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, if it would have felt disingenuous if they'd cured the owl curse. It would have felt a bit disingenuous from that that angle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, Ida hasn't aged a day.
She looks great.
Still an absolute slice.
Yes. Absolutely. King is a little bit taller now, with his horns a little bit longer as well, which is very cute. He's wearing his medallion, which says KC on it, which of course stands for King Clawthorn. Very, very cute and wholesome. V and the Nosedas come through the door. V transforms back into a basilisk, which of course we talked about how she's kind of embracing her full self too, right? And the gang surprises Luz with a quinceañera, which is very, very sweet. You know, I talked about how you know, during the last discussion for the last special, I was kind of predicting like, oh, maybe we might get like a wedding or something in the time skip of some kind, some sort of event that brings our characters together to celebrate. And, you know, while it wasn't a wedding, I didn't get that correct. We did get this quinceañera, which kind of functions similarly, right? It's an opportunity for all of us to come together and celebrate something. And I do love that this is, you know, we get the little backstory that Luz was so busy helping rebuild the Boiling Isles during her 16th and 17th birthday that that they didn't have a chance to do the quinceañera, right? And so to make it up for that, they're doing it now for her 18th birthday. So I think that's cute. It's really sweet.
I'm not sure I know what it is, actually.
A quinceañera is typically a Latin American tradition. I don't remember if it's specific to a specific country. Maybe someone in the chat can let me know if that is if that's the case. But it's typically a Latin American tradition where when a girl turns 16, I believe it is, they do like a big fancy party for her. It's like a coming of age thing. It's kind of similar to a bat mitzvah in a way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I love that. And, you know, it also emphasizes Luz's heritage, right? Which is, of course, a key aspect of her character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we get one more cute little Lumity kiss, cheek kiss, which is very sweet. I'm glad that we got one more. Yeah, absolutely. One more little Lumity kiss, which is great. And yes, absolutely too. And V is 100% a Noseda. Where are my captions? There we go. Yeah, so when Luz was too busy for the 16th and 17th birthday, they couldn't do the quinceañera, so they made it up by doing it now. And I love this little, like, we did our research and we wanted to make it right, and they sound less haunted than our Boiling Isles birthdays, which is funny. And I love that, you know, we get the Boiling Isles version of typical quinceañera activities, right? Like, oh, normally there's a piñata, but instead of a normal piñata, we get the
piñata.
It's a piñata, exactly.
I like the thing about it that I like the most is that it was planned by Camila.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Plotted out these very specific and incredibly macabre set pieces, which just kind of goes to show how much she's embraced that part of her daughter.
Yeah. No.
You know, in a way that she had to, I don't want to say she had to learn to do, but obviously at one point in the story, she was pressured by outside forces to discourage, for lack of a better term.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. So that's such a good point. It really shows how far Camila has gone too, right? Like embracing all this stuff completely is
But more than just embracing it, like understanding it so fully.
Yeah.
To be able to plan this so well and just like, yeah, you just fucking fill that cake with spiders. Just fill it with spiders. I don't know how you're going to get the spiders in there without killing them during the baking process, but Just fill it
Just
with
do
spiders.
it. Go for it. Yeah. And
I
yeah,
don't know if
exactly.
you have to use one of those like piping tubes, but have it full of spiders
Full of
and like
spiders.
pipe,
Yeah.
pipe the spiders into it.
It reminds me of that gag from Undertale, right? Where it's like the spider bake sale, made for spiders, by spiders, of spiders.
Spiders do eat spiders. That
They
is a
do.
thing
They
that
do
they
eat
do.
spiders. Yeah, there's so many layers in this time skip for sure too, and I'm sure that I'm sure that we're not even going to cover it all. I'm sure there's a lot that we're missing as well too. And thank you, Magical. Yes, quinceañera is typically for 15-year-olds. Thank you for correcting me. And yeah, this Echo Mouse Cinderella reference killed me. I thought this was so fucking funny.
Where? What's the Echo Mouse Cinderella?
It's just like the way that the Echo Mouse sews the dress is very reminiscent of the mice from Cinderella. Yeah, it's that really cracked me up. I thought that was so funny.
And it's just a horrible dress.
Horrible, yeah. And then the Azura cake, which I feel like this is very I don't know, like when I turned 1 years old at my first birthday party, I had a cake that was very similar to this, but it was a Barbie cake, right? But instead of Azura, it was Barbie, and her dress was the cake. So I don't know, this idea of having a doll and the dress be the cake is like is something I've seen so many times before, right? So I love that we have that here, and of course it's filled with spiders, and I love like this expression,
face.
this expression we get from Steve as the spiders like crawl into his mouth and all over his
just like
face.
consume him.
Also,
more
he's
spiders now than man.
He's rocking the mullet as well too, which we love to see.
No, we don't. Speak for yourself.
And then Camila just being like, yeah, great job, guys.
That's the one thing I would seriously take Dana Terrace to task about, is the overuse of mullets. I'd be like, what the fuck is that about?
Mullets are queer culture. We're reclaiming them.
No, mullets are dreadful.
Uh,
the bat children, the bat queens, babbies,
Yeah.
remind me, for some reason they remind me of Brian David Gilbert's fictional boy band.
oh my god, yes, 100%.
What are they called? It's a bunch of brothers.
I'm forgetting what they're called too. Yeah, the Brian David Gilbert parody. So funny.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I'm blanking on the name, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Something like Me Squared or something like that.
Yeah. We get this very
Twin Squared.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Squared.
We get this very cool reveal, right? That the glyphs are now working again because King's powers are developing, and we have a new glyph language. And we talked about last time too, right? About how we actually saw King using these glyphs in that final battle with Belos, which is a neat little detail. So yeah, King's powers.
Detail, if you will.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, King's powers are getting stronger. They are different from his dad's, which I think, again, like, we talked about magic being this, wild magic being this sort of like symbol for, this thing that ties us to the land, the thing that ties us to our culture, our heritage in a lot of ways, right? And how Belos and his magic system regime is like a metaphor for colonialism, and how we separate and categorize people into things, right? And so I love this idea of each Titan having their own individual glyph language, because I feel like that just adds to this like queering nature of magic, and this idea that like we are all unique in our own ways, right? And like our connections to magic are unique and different and special in our individual rights, right? And so I love that this is kind of symbolic in that way, kind of tying those ideas together.
Because the stream for me has a bit of a lag, so I have to wait for it to catch up. I just got to the bit with Steve cutting the cake, and his
yeah,
face is so funny.
So funny.
His face is genuinely so funny.
Absolutely.
He's done this before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we have one more little surprise, the collector in the area. And of course, we don't get to see the collector, but I talked a little bit about already, right, about how this show really, one of its core tenets is like love for storytelling, love for fiction, love for fandom, love for, fan creations. I feel like that's, a very kind of, it's part of the heart of the show, right? And this little moment that we get at the end where we have all the characters looking up saying goodbye, obviously it's, they're saying bye to the collector, but it's very much meant for the audience. They're saying bye to us, right? We get this one more cute little Huntlow moment of Hunter being brought in closer by Willow and them hugging, very, very cute with a adorable, goofy expression. And this moment of them saying goodbye is very much for the audience as much as it is for the collector. And actually, before we say the bye, and I'm gonna absolutely cry saying this, but we have this moment of Luce saying, "Ida, King, thank you for everything," which of course, when Luce was dying earlier in the finale, about to die, and she was like, "I should have thanked them." And then of course we get this moment here where she's like, "Ida, King, thank you so much for everything." I'm gonna cry. I'm literally gonna cry. Oh my god, I'm literally tearing up, you guys. Oh my god.
Can I ruin everything for just
please.
a hot second?
Go ahead.
You keep saying tenants when you mean tenets.
I'm sorry. I'm an idiot.
Tenants are a different thing.
What is the word I meant? What I'm supposed to be saying?
Tenet.
Not tenant.
T-E-N-E-T.
Tenet.
Like tenet as in like a principle.
Yes, tenet, not tenant like a renter. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Tenet. Yes, thank you for correcting me. But yeah, no, this moment, like, fucking, I cry every time, right? Like, King, Ida, thank you for everything, and then Ida saying right back at you, and then them just saying weirdos as they put their hands together. Fuck you guys, my heart. It really gets me. Because, like, this is the core of the show, right? This is what the heart has really been all about. This idea of King, Ida, and Luce being outcasts, being weirdos, being people who didn't belong in their where they were told they were supposed to be, right? But them coming together and finding each other and allowing themselves to be authentic with each other. Oh my god. And this idea that they have meant so much to each other, and yeah, I fucking cry every time, and I love it. I love this moment so much, and of course we finally get they're nearly gone, which of course she means us. We're nearly gone, and everyone on the count of three. And I love that this moment, it unapologetically breaks the fourth wall, and it's very much supposed to be like a goodbye to the audience. But I love that because, like I said, the show, one of its core tenets has been love for fiction and love for fans and love for fandom. So the fact that this is very much for the audience, right?
It's a good abuse of the fourth wall. It's not like RuPaul having pictures of himself on his fridge. Abuse of the fourth wall.
Exactly.
This, I think, I guess I just have a different opinion when it comes to the endings of a show. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the ending of a show and been moved by the fact that it was over. I think so much of the emotion of this ending is riding on the fact that it's over.
Yeah.
Which obviously affects a lot of people, and it affects me to a degree. But, like, I don't know, my experience of my favorite things is that I will routinely go back and revisit them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I must have seen Cowboy Bebop more than 20 times in my life. Like, I will routinely go back and rewatch it. I rewatch Over the Garden Wall every year. I am literally watching the penultimate episode of Amphibia today.
Right, yeah. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about these shows too, right? Is that they're never truly gone. Like, just because we're not getting new episodes, like we always, and that's like also the power of fans, right? And the power of fandom, right? Like, someone asked me this in my Discord server earlier, and I didn't get a chance to respond to it, but someone asked, like, what do we think is going to happen with like the future of the Owl House? Not really in terms of like, what are we going to get in terms of official IP, but like what's going to happen kind of to the fans. And I wholeheartedly believe that this fandom is not going to die out. We're still getting like Gravity Falls fan content, like
Steven
people making
Universe.
fan art, Steven Universe fan content and all that stuff. So like, yeah, people are definitely going to be still writing fan fiction, doing fan art. I can speak for myself personally. I'm working on a video right now that is going to take some time to finish, but it's coming in the future. Yeah, and like lots of people are going to be making videos and talking about the show for ages to come, right? So yeah, I think like just because it's over doesn't mean it's like over, right?
Yeah.
So I fully believe that the fans will kind of carry on the spirit of the show.
Stories
for
need
years.
to end, otherwise they're not like, what is the point of a story that doesn't end?
Yeah, and I believe that too. Stories do need to end.
Stories need to end. Like a word is not a word unless it's how is it? Tom Scott puts it, some letters surrounded by a gap.
Right.
But like you can't imagine somebody getting to the end of like Bonfire of the Vanities and being like, oh, I can't believe it's over. I'm so sad. It's like, no, it's going to be put on the shelf. And it's now part of the annals of history of art and media, and you can always revisit it, and it now exists as a complete picture, and that's an amazing, wonderful thing. And it's stories don't just cease.
Yeah. And now we get the chance to like look at the Owl House as a complete package too, right? Which is not something we could have done before the finale. So I'm like I said, I'm working on a video analysis right now that's going to be kind of like a big looking at the entire show analysis. And I'm sure other people will be making videos, other people will be making fan stuff. So yeah, Owl House is definitely going to have a life of its own outside of the show, regardless of what Disney gives us in the future, right? And of course, I would love to see an art book. I would love to see some sort of continuation, see more of these characters. There's lots of jokes and hints about a prequel spinoff with Ida and Lilith, right? Lots of things that would be really cool to see. But regardless of what we get, I love what we got. I love this show with all my heart, and I'm so grateful that we got what we did get, even if it wasn't what we had hoped for with the shortening and everything. I'm so grateful for the show regardless. And again, big congrats and big kudos to the Owl House crew and Dana and all the artists and producers on the show. Like everyone did such an amazing job. I really can't sing my praise high enough. Like, of course we have our criticisms here and there, and that's gonna come with anything, right? Especially a show coming from Disney. We're gonna have our nitpicks here and there, but that doesn't take away or detract from the fact that the crew did an incredibly stellar job and clearly worked their butts off and put all their heart and soul into this show. So I really have to respect that. And I'm just grateful for the show existing, and I'm grateful for you, Tom, for being my friend and talking about the show with me week after week as we have journeyed through this together. And grateful for everyone in the chat who has joined us as well week after week, and anyone who is watching this VOD in the future. I'm just super grateful, and we wouldn't be here without this show. So yeah, I'm definitely just filled with gratitude.
Okay, so there's the Griffin thing.
Yeah, yes.
There's Viney and the Griffin. Who the fuck is that big pigeon?
This big pigeon?
One above the Griffin. There's just like a big fucking pigeon.
Yeah, who is that? What is that?
Is that Trent? Is Trent actually?
Oh, that must be Trent.
Voiced by John Ratzenberger.
Oh my gosh.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, that was my terrible impression of John Ratzenberger. Insulted that man and his legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just super grateful for the show, super grateful to the crew and the artists behind the show. Someone asked me in Discord too, are we going to talk about our kind of overall feelings about the show? And I feel like I can at least touch on it briefly, right? I love this show. Definitely one of my favorites. I feel like just looking at the representation aspect of it, like it's so groundbreaking in so many ways that we really can't take for granted, and that I'm so grateful for, Dana and the crew fighting for and pushing for that stuff. I think like definitely there were things in the show that I had my criticisms of and I felt like could have been improved, maybe with like more time with the script, or maybe with slightly different choices here and there. But overall, I think the show is just absolutely fantastic and will kind of live up as one of the Disney classics, in my opinion, in terms of shows, right? Um, yeah, I feel like I've already said it before, where I'm just grateful that it exists in its way. And you know, we talked a lot about, you know, queer representation and this idea of like authenticity, and I feel like that Owl House is definitely one that is authentic, right? Like Dana made this for herself, for her like almost inner child, right? And I love that this show is very much made for queer people. It's not necessarily made for cis het people to be kind of shown the world of queerness. It's made for people who are celebrating their queerness for what it is, and I really love that. And Luce, you know, I've talked about her as being like one of my favorite protagonists of all time. Like her, like if we just look at her in terms of representation, right? Like her being a gender non-conforming brown bisexual girl, like heading a Disney show, like that in and of itself is so groundbreaking. But like her journey of like finding herself and like finding her people without having to compromise her identity is like something that is so close to my heart, and something that like I've also struggled with immensely too, right? So in terms of the characters, I feel like Luce is just easily one of my favorite characters that I've like related to, that I've like got to see myself in. And so I really love Luce and the show for all that it's like done for me personally. And I really can't sing my praises enough for all of that. What about you, Tom? Do you have any kind of like final thoughts on the show as a whole, how you feel about it? Any kind of thoughts or feelings on that?
The way I put it in the video I'm working on is that it achieves really the highest compliment I can give anything, which is that there's nothing quite like it.
Yes. Yes.
Even though it's very much like a genre piece, it's a genre piece that does things with that genre in such an individualistic way, that feels so creator driven in a way that other things don't.
Absolutely.
I feel like the era, it makes me really sad to say it, but I feel like the era of creator driven cartoons was just like a beautiful sweet spot in the 2010s.
Yeah.
That you know, for better or worse, you know, like I understand like Star versus the Forces of Evil sort of burnt out its own goodwill with its audience,
right?
But we you know, we had so many things like again, I cannot emphasize for better or worse enough, because not all of it was great, but it was creator driven.
But that's the kind of beauty of it, right? Like the fact that
like,
it is creator driven, like not everything is going to be for everyone, and that's
stuff like
okay.
stuff like 12 Forever, which I did watch before I knew that the creator of that show was extremely fucked up. But like I did watch that just because it was there, and I thought, I'll give it a watch. It's weird, but there's nothing like it. It's a completely individual thing, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Infinity Train is another one. That's Owen Dennis's brainchild, and that's not to say these aren't extremely collaborative processes. They are, but they are creator driven,
right?
You know,
right.
The thing that I've been like umming and ahhing over is there's this new Disney show called what's it called, like Haley's on It or something like that, which I don't like the look of it in terms of the visuals. I'm not a huge fan of the visuals, and I'm not a huge fan of the concept either, but I'm going to give it a try. I obviously wish it well. I wish any show or project well, unless it's like a horrible conservative
especially
mess, but, like,
the way the animation sphere is right now. Like any show I'm going to like cheer for.
Yes, I want it to do well. I want these things to always do well. But when I was looking at it, and I was looking at the way it's been put together and the team that's been put together for it, it really feels like it doesn't feel creator driven. It feels like, okay, so this has been like the concept was created by 2 or 3 people who are just like staffers of Disney and have been staffers of Disney for a very long time. they're veterans. Like the person who's directing it was an episode director on Hey Arnold and Recess. It's not. I'm not saying these people aren't talented, but it doesn't feel like this was the brainchild
Yeah, like
of someone.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like Owl House feels like it came from Dana's heart, right? Like it came
Yeah,
from
Dana Terrace created these characters ages ago and has been trying to get them brought into reality for a very long time.
And I mean, like same with like Steven Universe, right? Like Steven
Universe,
like yeah, they're very personal to the creators. They're very like
it's the same anywhere you go. Like Berserk was that way. Like when Kentaro Miura was
100%.
working on Shonen Jump stuff, the first thing he had for Berserk was just a sketch of a big man with a sword and a little pixie, and that would grow into one of the most like beautiful, heart-wrenching stories of all time. And very creator-driven stuff. And I look back over just this amazing, like we've been gifted with just like such a sweet spot of creator-driven animation.
Yeah.
I don't know where it started. Maybe Adventure Time. I really feel like Adventure Time was such like a turning point for so many things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like regular show I don't love, but it is so individual and it is so much like.
And that's another very creator-driven thing, right?
Super creator-driven. Steven Universe, obviously.
Yeah.
Midnight Gospel. Hell, even Rick and Morty. Like,
absolutely.
Problematic as they come, but still there it is, and Gravity Falls and Big City Greens. It's going to be ending soon. Craig of the Creek.
Craig, yes.
They all feel like they're coming to a close, and I feel like that's an era that honestly did last a good long time. It lasted a decade. That generally, in my experience, is how long film movements tend to last, is about a decade at a time. Maybe a little longer.
Right.
And the Owl House fits so comfortably in that world. Like I'm fascinated by movements in art and movements in cinema particularly. Like I will often talk about the 1970s being my favorite period of live action cinema, because America had this just incredible neo-realist period with like a lot of my favorite movies came out in the 70s. Chinatown, Taxi Driver, Dog Day Afternoon, just like a beautiful period where things just were a certain way, for various reasons. And I'm like, I'd be really curious to analyze why animation became this way for that set period of time, like how that came to be. But the Owl House takes two things which are about as like played out as they come, fantasy and isekai, of which there are so many.
Right.
And it does them in a way that feels like that just feels like the raw creative blood of a single person with a sketchbook, who like just kind of thought, okay, we've got so much high fantasy, but all of it is catered towards a particular kind of Tolkien aesthetic.
Right.
Let's shed that and let's replace it with the like Christian doom and hellfire inspired works of those Germanic and European painters who were all like fire and brimstone and hell and were just
right,
fascinated by the obsessed, not fascinated. Hieronymus Bosch was a weirdo,
right.
And just like transpose that in a way that works perfectly, because Christianity is itself like a theme in the show, and let's take that isekai genre and let's kind of flip it on its head by making it as quotidian as possible. A genre which normally relies on a character being spat out into a world where they shake up the status quo, or where the status quo bends to them because they have traits that make them extraordinary in this world. And this is like totally, the opposite of that, where you have this character who's spat out into this other world,
Exactly.
and she just kind of blends into it. It's
Yeah.
where she wants to be. She adopts it.
Absolutely.
But it's, I don't know, it's more complicated than the sum of its parts. It's all of these different moving pieces of the unique sense of humor of all of the writers. And,
totally.
Do I love every second of it? No, but it's like I don't really care, and I don't want to either.
Yeah, you don't need to either, right? Like, and that's kind of the beauty of having things that are so creator driven and that are so like unique and individual, right? Because like we as a species are so diverse and so different, right? And like I think like in general, like if we have more art that's like authentic to the creators and more personal to the creators, like it's that kind of paradox, right? Of like the more personal you kind of make something, the more universal it tends to be. But also like the point of it being so individual and yet universal is that it is not necessarily universal for everyone, right? Like that's the point of it also being individual. And so like the Owl House is not going to be a show for everyone, and that's okay, right? And like Amphibia is not going to be a show for everyone, that's okay. All these like creator driven shows that we've talked about are not going to be for everyone, and that's okay. There's shows that you mentioned that like I'm not a fan of, but like I can respect it for being what the creator has set out to create, right? Like there's a lot to say for that.
I don't think I realized it until Toon mentioned it in his video on Summer Camp Island, another creator-driven, beautiful show. And also watch Toon's video on that because it's fantastic.
Yes, I watched his video and it's great, and now I really want to watch Summer Camp Island.
But I hadn't even thought about it this way, but he puts it like Regular Show effectively brought stoner comedy to kids, and that's exactly what it did. And I don't even like Regular Show. I find it really weird and unsettling, but I don't like stoner comedy either, but I understand why people do. And it's you know, the Owl House is so perfect to me as a bastion of the desperate struggle between the art and the artist trying to make it. Especially in an industrial sense, because when a painter wants to paint something, the only barrier is the materials that they have. You know, when if you're an illustrator, you just get a sketchbook and you make an illustration. But like animation, film, these are complicated collaborative processes, and it breaks my heart in a way to know that there is some part of Dana Terrace that just wants to leave this behind, which is so sad. You know, and no doubt her relationship with this show is a complicated one and will continue to be a complicated one. You know, what is his name? Who did Evangelion? Hideaki Anno has a terribly complicated relationship with Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is like one of the most famous pieces of media ever made. And he keeps remaking it because I don't know what it is that brings him back.
Right.
And every time he remakes it, people are like, damn, this is really good. And he'll just do it again. And it's like he keeps doing this story again and again and again. And people love it every time. And they have these very complicated opinions about it every time. But like, you look at the Owl House and it's just this like beautiful, imperfect thing that existed in spite of everything.
Right. Exactly. And
even though it aired alongside another wonderful creator-driven show and isekai in the form of Amphibia, which has its own, you know, things about it, and there are similarities between the two, but like they are not the same experience. They're
definitely
so different.
Yeah.
And that is like the highest compliment I could give anything. That's like when the reason I'm not, you know, I look at things like Q-Force and there's nothing that could make me want to watch that.
Right.
I know it's queer, I know it's made by queer creators. It feels like a product to me. When I look at it, I look at the animation, I look at the clips of it that I've seen, it feels like something that was commissioned by Netflix. It doesn't feel like something that was made because somebody really wanted to make it.
To be fair though, I think a lot of that has to do with the marketing.
I could totally be wrong about that.
But, I don't know how right you are. That's the thing, because I haven't watched it myself. I've only seen the discourse from the outside, like I mentioned, but I don't know how right you are about that. But you could be.
There are loads of shows like that. Like even
if it's not Q-Force, there are shows that are like that. Yeah.
The number of like like Family Guy knockoffs
Yes,
exist.
yes, absolutely. Or like I'm forgetting the show right now. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong about this because I want to be wrong about this. But there are so many shows, right, that like will come out that have similar art styles to shows that have come before it. And that whenever those shows come out, it feels to me like it's like what you're saying, like those kind of corporate products, right? Like there's a new animated show that came out that's like the same Bob's Burgers style. And
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that show, but it feels like that, at least to me from the outside.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's we live in a very, very complicated world when it comes to art and the way that
Yeah.
we consume it. Because the average person, we're getting into deep territory here, but the average person really has no concept of how these things get made.
Oh yeah, it was very
Um,
clear.
There's a very funny episode of Big City Greens where you actually get to have a look at how animation is made, and they've obviously catered it to make it look how the average person thinks animation is made. It's
Right.
like, you if you want something changed at the last second, you can just do it, and it's easy, and there's no production issues at all, and like
Right? So
everyone's
easy.
happy, and it's great, and like you just like they launch the storyboards off in using a boulder and what do they call it, like those flings, what are they, there's a
Oh,
word for
the
them.
catapults?
Yeah, it's not a catapult, there's a word for it. They launch it to Korea, and they're just like, I don't know, it just gets turned into animation, it gets sent back.
Right, does not like my magic.
It's just like magic, it just gets made and then it comes back. Like, and the few times when people have actually spoken out against the nature of the industry, the film and television industry as it exists today, they've been met with forceful opposition from people who have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Martin Scorsese suffered the most incredible tirade from idiots for daring to say that maybe their corporate products are corporate products and not art.
Right. Yeah.
And like that, the reason I bring that up is because it makes me sad to know that the average consumer won't notice
Right.
when
Right.
when this starts to go away, and when the creator-driven content begins to wane, as I predict it will, and I want that to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be so
Yeah,
happy
we
about
want to be
that.
wrong on this stuff.
I will not
Absolutely.
consider it a victory to be right about this.
Totally. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But my prediction is it will wane. It's already beginning to wane, and I think that will continue to be a trend.
Right.
The average consumer just won't notice, and they won't care, because they all they want is to consume, and they don't care how it gets made.
Yeah.
And I guess to me, as somebody who does value these things, it makes the Owl House just this like beautiful bastion of this
Yes. Yeah.
very personal project that came out in an industry that was simply did not cater towards it. It
Yeah.
happened in spite of the meddlings of executives who
Right? Like the Owl House
so far
existing feels
removed.
like an act of rebellion in a lot of ways.
Not even that's the sad thing about it for me, is it's less rebellion and more spite, and
Yeah.
that's sad, because like I don't like the idea of something existing out of spite.
Sure,
But
sure.
it's like it was touch and go for me there towards the end, because like the second half of season 2 I liked just fine. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
And that like second special was so much of a dud for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I found myself like mourning the show that I once just adored.
Yeah.
with all my heart. Like, and it still is very special to me. I'm so glad the finale was satisfying.
Right. Yeah, me too.
But like, yeah, what a pipeline to bring us here. What a legacy.
Definitely.
I feel like all of the best things have just the most nightmarish production.
Definitely. Yeah, and we don't want to end on a depressing note too, for sure, but like the world might look bleak right now, especially in the world of animation, but I think like what Tom's point is that despite all of that, like the Owl House existing is so special.
This is not me, like I'm not trying to say this to be depressing. I'm saying this as like how impressive and brilliant it is that it exists.
Yeah.
And I think that's worth celebrating.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so I hope that the show gets nothing but flowers from this point out. I hope that we get an art book in the future that, you know, we can buy and give the creators a little bit more of our money. I hope that we you know, I hope that we're wrong, you know, in our predictions, and that we do get more creator driven shows, that we do get more queer representation that's as unapologetic and not only meets the outhouse in terms of like the bar that it's set, but also, you know, exceeds it. I want to see more. I want to see all the queerness and all the representation. You know, I really feel like despite how far we've come with the outhouse, we still have a long way to go, you know.
And try out these other creator driven shows, support them, you know, even if they're over, especially if they're over, fuck it, just like everybody go watch Pantheon. It's superb. It's so good. I know it got cancelled. I don't care. It's really good. Please watch it.
Yeah.
Big City Greens. It's great. It's good stuff. It's funny. Give it a go. It's, you know, there's beautiful animation out there. I feel like Dana Terrace, Alex Hirsch, Rebecca Sugar, Pendleton Ward, they are responsible for a revolution in Western animation that, you know, Owen Dennis as well, that I hope doesn't end. I hope that, you know, there's still glimmers of hope. We got a new show by Gendy Tartakovsky.
Yeah, that's true. And it looks so cool.
It looks really, really good.
It looks really good.
You know, that man, he does not miss.
Yeah. And you know, there are going to be new shows that come out that will get buried by networks and stuff too, right? Like there's a new adult animated show that I really want to check out on HBO. That like is getting barely any marketing right now. God, what the fuck is it called? I am blanking right now. It's something on Mars.
Fired on Mars. Yeah,
Fired on Mars.
I've watched the first episode of that, and it's very good. It's very Philip K. Dick inspired.
Yeah, so that's like something I want to check out as well too. I just haven't had a chance to watch that yet. So there's gonna be these projects, right, that like get kind of almost intentionally buried by the networks, and it's kind of up to us as animation fans and people who want to support artists and creators, right, to kind of go out of our way to do those things. So yeah, I totally echo what you're saying, Tom. Try things out. Try things out that you might not have been interested in before. You know, just try it.
I don't particularly like regular show, but I did watch it start to finish.
Yeah,
and it's like I'm glad I watched it.
For sure.
Yeah,
a new cartoon, Gentry Chow versus the Underworld. Nice. I'll have to check that out as well. Yeah, and like, you know, that's if you're ever hanging out in the Discord server and you see a show that you think looks cool, or like not a lot of people are talking about it or have heard of it yet, share it in the Discord, because I want to at least hear about it. I might not have a chance to watch it. Like there's so much stuff I want to watch that I just never get a chance to, and then I end up just rewatching Buffy all the time. But I
am the one who's always trying to push you to watch new things.
Yeah, but Tom is definitely Tom and I have watched a lot of stuff together as well too, and Tom has opened my eyes to a lot of things that I might not have checked out before. So I'm grateful for that as well.
You sat through 3 seasons of Fargo.
And I loved it. It was amazing. And I never would have watched it on my own. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Now we got a 5th season.
Yeah, but always be willing to try new stuff, because you never know what you'll actually like really enjoy and like feel like I have definitely watched things like with friends or like with other people that like nothing about it appeals to me, but like by giving it a chance, I realized like, oh, this is actually something I really like. Like actually something recently, I never was into horror before, but then starting to watch horror movies like with you, Tom, and then starting to explore the genre a little bit on my own. Like there's so much good stuff in horror that I actually really like in a lot of the ways that I like comedy.
Was great.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like there's so much in there that like appeals to me that I never would have thought appealed to me, because I like wrote off that whole genre. So I really encourage people to try new things and branch out their interests, because you never know what is going to appeal to you until you try it, right?
One day you and I will sit down and we'll watch Suspiria 2019.
Oh
and
my gosh.
I don't even think I'm ready for that yet.
I don't think I'm ready either.
That film affected me in some deep ways.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely, shout out to, like Toon said, creators and other fans and other people who, try to give voice to these shows that might not be having as big marketing budgets as like Disney or whatever, right? So yeah, definitely we'll be checking out some of those shows. Anyway, we've been going on for a long time. We're almost at 3 hours now at this point. I think we are going to be wrapping this up, though. I think we pretty much hit everything that we wanted to talk about, and I don't think we need to have another discussion stream necessarily, unless, Tom, you feel differently and you're like, no, I have 2 more hours worth of stuff to talk about. We need to do one more. But I feel like we've kind of covered everything that I at least want to cover in the discussion streams. There's a lot that I want to go into more deeply in a video, but I feel like for this discussion, I feel like I've covered everything.
I want to at least open your mind to the possibility. We don't have to do this. Obviously, you're in charge. I'm just a co-host.
Sure.
If at any point you decided you wanted to do just like one last stream, it doesn't even have to be long, to talk more about the show as a whole, just like shoot the chat about the show as a whole, I would be down for that. But
yeah,
that might just be coming from a place of not feeling quite ready to put it down yet.
yeah, no, I totally feel you. Like having no more outhouse discussion streams is definitely a scary thing to say out loud. So I don't want to say never. I don't want to say that we're never going to do another outhouse discussion stream, because there's so much to talk about this show, right? There really is so much to talk about this show. But I feel like maybe next week we probably won't have another like weekly stream. Maybe we'll give us a chance to rewatch the show, to sit on it a little bit. Maybe we'll do like a overview discussion or something like that at some point in the future. I don't want to say no, that's never going to happen, but I feel like at least for now, I'm kind of done talking about the show. I really want to work on my video. That's something that I need to start focusing on, my analysis video for the show. So maybe like I'll do the analysis video first, and then maybe we'll do a future discussion stream like in a couple months or something like that. I don't know.
We can get back to our She-Ra discussions as well.
Yes, and we need to go back to She-Ra. We need to go back to discussing that at some point. I know that we want to do Buffy discussion streams at some point too, so that'll happen in the future.
Eventually.
We have lots of ideas of stuff that we want to do. So discussion streams will definitely continue, but we'll figure out what exactly we're discussing as we cross those bridges. But I think for now we can go ahead and wrap it up for today, unless you have any other pressing things that you need to get out.
I don't. I'm gonna restrain myself.
All right, sounds good. Well, we're gonna continue the discussion in Discord anyway, so if you want to join us there, feel free to continue discussing with us. And like I said, I'm working on a video right now, so I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully I can get that done within the next like month or so, but I have notoriously been bad at working on videos, so we'll see.
Like all-encompassing videos about an entire show is really hard.
It's hard. It's really hard.
I still haven't finished my Steven Universe script.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So thank you for your patience, and I hope that you'll enjoy it once it comes out. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. Thank you all again. I've already talked about my gratitude for the show, but I want to once again express my gratitude for all of you for joining us for our weekly discussion streams. It's been so awesome. Thank you so much for chatting, for watching the VOD in the future if you're watching. That's another thing. I am planning on editing these streams down and making them into videos. So that might be something I do kind of in between as I'm working on my Owl House analysis video. So if you see these streams popping up in your video feed, no pressure to rewatch them or watch them again. They're meant to be for people who like don't want to sit through this entire discussion stream and just want to get to like the juicy bits. So I'll be doing that in the near future as well too.
Go check me out on Instagram and Tumblr.
Oh yeah.
I'm not really Twitter. I'm done with Twitter. I'm not really doing Twitter anymore. The odd post here and there. But
yeah, Tom's on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram and I'm on Tumblr, and y'all can friggin' check me out there.
Are you Curmudgeon Media on those places, or what are you?
Curmudgeon Media does have an Instagram. I mostly use just my own personal Instagram, which is Tom Nell Art.
Okay.
And I think my Tumblr is the same, just Tom Nell Art.
Tom Nell Art. Go follow. Check it out. Oh my God, Robin just said it's been wonderful several years being on these streams. I can't believe we've been doing these streams for several years. That's actually crazy now that you say that, Robin.
Have we known each other for that long?
Yeah, we've known each other for years now.
Oh my God.
Because we became friends, I want to say at the beginning of 2021.
Because of
the Infinity Train.
Infinity Train.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All the juicy stuff, like talking about bumps from up. Exactly, Robin. You know exactly what I mean. Yeah, we've been friends for a couple years now, which is really crazy. And we've been doing these streams for a couple years now, which is really crazy. So thank you all, especially, you know, the folks who have been with us this entire time. Like, that's just absolutely wild. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. I'm so grateful. Hopefully you'll continue to join us for our future streams, you know, Shira, Buffy, all that good stuff. And yeah, we're definitely not done with the Owl House. So keep your eyes out for stuff in the future as we talk about the show more. Follow Tom on his socials, follow me if you feel like it, all that good stuff. What else? I just I don't want to end. I don't want to let you guys go, but we should. We've been here for 3 hours. We'll be back. We'll be back for sure. Yeah, stay safe and take care, everyone. Love you all so much. Appreciate you so much. And I hope to see you all for the next one. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.